Love you.
Good afternoon, my fellow Tottenham fans, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boys, Dave and Jack. And it is a big one today, a London derby, as Tottenham make the short trip across the capital to take on the bubble enthusiast West Ham in their cup final. But also a massive chance with Aston Villa playing Man City tomorrow night for Tottenham to really put their claws on top four. So a huge one tonight, and I, for one, cannot wait. Hopefully a lot of you guys out there is as excited as I am. It is a huge one tonight. Jacko, how are you, my man?
Unfortunately, Dave, trying to recover still from the weekend. Had caught a bit of a cold of some kind. Maybe I sat next to maybe a West Ham fan that maybe spiked, my coffee or something like that, and still trying to, kind of recover from it. But we're going to power through today, sort of Michael Jordan style, Dave, kind of through the sickness and all, because it is West Ham's cup final. And, we have to show up for it, teach them a lesson, and in a way, get the revenge spot here for us, Dave. And also looking forward to just, seeing a big game. We only have so many big games this season because of no Europe. And I know we're a little bit nervous and we'll get into that, but it is nice to feel a little bit nervous and playing a big game again.
No, 100%. We'll get into how people are feeling in just a moment. But look, big game from Lasagna Gate to Spike Jacko Gate. They're trying to take another good man down, another good team down. It will not happen tonight, I can assure you of that. We head down to Profitron. Derma, how are you keeping, my man?
Yeah, glad. Thanks for having me on again. Love coming on to these pump-ups. Really enjoy it. It's like a part of my game day now, and I love coming on. So thanks for having me on. Like Jack, nervous. How dare they try to spike Jack? I'm going to have words with them West Ham players. How dare they?
Big up, Dermo. Good to have you on, as always. And down to Jose. How are you keeping, my man?
Yeah, all good, all good. I'm very, very, very grateful to be on here again, sharing the stage with you fine gentlemen. And of course, all the great people that support the Irish Hotspur in the chat. I'm not nervous at all.
Well,
I'm
neither
looking
am I.
forward. I'm looking forward to it. It's another match. It's game day. People got to remember, we've got 9 games left. After that, we're going to be scratching our heads and all sorts for 3 months until we start again in August. So, yeah, I'm happy for every game that comes along.
Well, look, Jacko and was saying that, you know, we haven't had many big games this season. Well, we, like Jose saying, we've got 9 huge games left to go. And
That's
for one, am excited about this running. Let's check in. Let's see who we've got in with us. Let's see who's excited as we are. And then we will crack on. We have Tekken says, hey, guys, it's great to have a game so quick after Saturday's match. I got the prediction right for the Luton game. This time around, I couldn't tell you. Hope you had a good Easter. Come on, you Spurs. Look, I had a great Easter, my man. Very good Easter, actually. I had a nice dinner with the family on Sunday, actually. It was nice, you know, to catch up with them all and stuff like that. But a big one tonight. Ange Postecoglou seems to think the team would have gained a bit of belief, which we'll ask Jack about in a little bit, you know, heading into this game. So hopefully we see that on the football pitch. Adrian Schrocker says, good afternoon, Dave, Jack, and the panel. And El Tel, big up, Adrian, good to see you in the building. You've got Dermo in there. Slim Boy Tubbs, the Oxymoron, welcome in. Big up, one and all. Come on, you Spurs. Got a killer abscess on my tooth, so a win tonight is a must. I'm sorry to hear that, my man.
Sorry,
and hopefully you recover quickly on that. Who else have we got in here? We've got Kerry King. Great to see you. Come on, Spurs. Nice treat to listen to whilst I'm working. Well, I hope it's a nice treat. Some people would say my voice is a bit screechy, but I'm glad you enjoy it. Shem Tan says, hey, Jack and Dave, another game so quick. Hopefully we start fast and hard against the West Bammers and show them up at their cemetery ground. I really do hope so, Shem Tan. Of all nights to turn up, it has to be tonight, big man. I really hope that happens. We also have Nitro 8 DJ says, good afternoon, all. Let's smash the hammers tonight. Come on, you Spurs. Welcome in Davey Hall as well. He says, what Spurs will turn up today, hoping for a win. Come on, you Spurs. I think we're all sort of guessing on that one, Davey. Jack Bloom 2024. Hey, Spurs fans. Good to see you in the building along with my guy, Jazzy Fusion. Have to see what shows up today. Big up, Jazz. Good to see you. We also have Rooty Toot. Big up, top-notch panel and everyone in the chat. I'm nervous for tonight. We need to break our bad habit of starting slow. Absolutely spot on. That's a discussion we will be entering. Dave H1960 says, big up, Dave, Jack, and panel. Hi to all in the chat. Come on, you Spurs. 3 points today. I hope we're all open on that one. Davey. We also got Faz Radfar 3-1 Spurs. Big up, lads. My favorite channel. Hope you're well watching on TV. 3-1 is guaranteed. Not going to the game tonight. Faz, you know, you decided to opt out on that one, did you? But big up, Faz. Good to see you in the building. We also have Derek Hutchinson. Big up, Dave, Jack, and Dermot. Let's stuff these guys tonight. Well done. Big up, Derek Hutchinson. We also have Gesler Toon says hat-trick Timo 4-1 to Spurs. Big up, Gesler. Good to see you in the building. We also have George Caradas says, good day, all. Van de Ven plays, we win. Absolutely spot on there. We also have good Guns, football, and things. We need to pop them dirty bubbles and get 3 points tonight. Come on, you Spurs. We also have Carl Simpson. Good afternoon, Jeds. Hope you're all well. Absolutely buzzing for this. Come on, you Spurs. We also have Peter M. Big up, David, Jack, and Dermot. Come on, you Spurs. We also have the multi-channel. West Ham lost 1-15 at home. We also have Big Mike. Come on, you Spurs.
Big Mike.
And no excuses. Good to see you, Big Mike. We also have Lisa. Oh, almost doesn't feel like game day unless I get to start with all you fine gentlemen. Not too confident today. Come on, you Spurs. Welcome in, Lisa. Hopefully you're keeping well. Declan Storm tracking. Hi, guys. Good to see you in the building along with Tequila as well. What a panel. Jacko, Davo, and Eltel. And in the end, Big Dermo. We also have Chris Loney says, good evening, lads. A big win on the cards tonight. Welcome in, my man. William Webb as well. Morning from Queensland. Big up all my Queensland fans. We also have Big Pants says, West Ham will try hard to put the debacle at Newcastle behind them. Just watch out. It's going to be a tricky one tonight for sure. We also have Ross Page 3-2. Come on, you Spurs. Take a few more and then we'll crack on. Aidan Bloodworth says, need consistency at this part of the season. And my Tuesday boner is the first midweek wood I have had in a long time. Come on, you Spurs. Well, Aidan certainly pumped up, pitch intense there he is. Good to see you in the building, Aidan. Howie Ez says, a platter of West Ham for lunch. Come on, you Spurs. We also have Paul G. Big up, lads. Good to see you in the building, Paul. We also have El Duderino, Lo Celso, Bentancur, Johnson need to start. We'll have plenty of discussions around that in a while. We also have Simon Cohen. Hey, Dave, Jack, and the boys. Let's hammer the hammers. Absolutely spot on. Big up, Simon. Good to see you. How are you and the son doing? Have you been to any games recently? Let me know in the comment section. We have Wembley 1. Great to see you in the building as always, sir. How are you? I know you're absolutely pumped. You were in early with this one. He says, afternoon, everybody. Usually I feel pessimistic about our chances in any game, but for some reason, I think we're going to do okay tonight. Come on, you Spurs. Well, I did say this in the members video, but I did get a question into Sandro on Chris Cowland's podcast after the game at the weekend, and I sort of asked him, I says, how important is performance compared to picking up results coming off the first game off the back of international duty? Because you used to do that yourself, going international duty and come back and play. And he said when you come back, it's difficult to sort of get back into the rhythm and the flow of things, because for club and country, you're asked to do different things and stuff like that. It's just about getting the win under your belt and moving into the next game and taking that confidence into the next game. So hopefully that prevails. If Sandro thinks we're going to turn up tonight, I also believe in Sandro, and I think we're going to turn up tonight, Wembley 1. Big yourself up, my man, and hopefully you're keeping well. Really appreciate it, Jack. Anything you want to say to Wembley?
That's a great reason, Dave. But what I also would add, Wembley, is maybe Spurs, are kind of looking at this as yet again another kind of opportunity to bounce back from a performance that certainly they wouldn't be proud of. And I think they have sort of been that type of team this season where they aren't going to just, kind of fold in the way that they did against West Ham or against Fulham, and then completely not show up again, in the next game afterwards. They kind of have been at least consistent, I think, in that regard. They've been hard to predict. Lots of games where we did think that they would, kind of convincingly beat teams. They haven't. But I think in some of the games where they are kind of looking to maybe repay the fans or kind of repay themselves, kind of some, due respect, and I think they've done that plenty of times this season. So there's that to think about as well. But I like your reasoning, Dave. If we have Sandro's approval, that's plenty enough for me.
Yeah, look, it's great reasoning for me behind it. I believe in Sandro. What a player he was. Big up Wembley 1. Really appreciate the support, brother, kicking it off like that. And Hennessy, member for 16 months. Big up Hennessy. Really appreciate the longevity of the support. So do we think it will be a game of lackluster first half, then a slightly better second half? Will we go behind and struggle to come back? What do you think? Jack, we'll start with you on this one and we'll throw it to the boys as well.
Kind of have a question later on this, Hennessy, so I can tell that you're kind of on the right track here. Spurs this season, I think, have been similar to Spurs teams of the past, where they kind of choose and pick, what sort of areas of the game to really go full throttle, what sort of times to really start kind of actually playing with full intensity. Dave kind of describes it, when they kind of start to panic, they start to play a bit better because they either know that, they're going to be substituted off, or they know that they're about to get kind of, a tough kind of message from Ange at halftime. And then usually they show up right afterwards. And it's just strange with the Spurs team. Even in the beginning of the season, we were sort of the opposite, right? Where we were actually flying in the beginning of first halves. And then we would just kind of slowly fade away until it was kind of more of an even match kind of between the two teams. And I don't know. It's something that's kind of been in previous Spurs teams with, different 11s of Spurs players. It's hopefully something that Ange Postecoglou, I think, will eventually, kind of be able to work out. But the style of play, this kind of movement, this, pace of play, the tempo of it, it is a lot to ask of these players. And maybe they kind of pick and choose when to go full intensity at times. And perhaps we see kind of the costs and consequences of that when they're not playing at full intensity.
Jose, would you agree with Jack on that they might pick and choose when, to sort of, because the games with only 2-day turnaround between them, that, like Luton, they sort of picked when to go, when not to go. And do you think they'll probably do that again tonight?
Yeah, quite possibly. You got to play the, they'll go out there with a game plan, and you got to play to the game plan. I mean, for me, I think, to be honest, and I said this early on in the show, to me, I think what'll be interesting is what side West Ham put out, because they've just come back from an away, so they've gone to the furthest part of the country you can go to have a game on Saturday, so they travel up to Newcastle and back, 3-1 up to then lose 4-3. They started with their first 11 because Alvarez was out suspended. So you then look at their bench, or I looked at their bench on Saturday, and I thought, cool, there ain't much there. There ain't much there on their bench at all. And weirdly enough, I watched us play against Luton, and let's be honest, we had game changers on the bench. So we can pick and choose, and we can adjust our sides tonight. But West Ham are going to find it a bit more difficult if they want to keep up. So and you're going to pick and choose. You're going to get out their instructions, and you're going to pick and choose your moments of when to go and that. And they will as well, because they will play like an away team against us tonight. I wish they wouldn't, but they will. In fact, that's how Moyes sets up these teams. I mean, I'd hope that they play like a home side, but I don't think they will. I'd be surprised if they did. So so we'll play to whatever instructions are given, and we're gonna have to pick and choose our moments. Conserve energy, so to speak, because you're quite right. The system that we play, it does take some getting used to, and even 3/4 of the season in, with all the training that you do and stuff like that, I still don't think people have got the levels of fitness that's required to play in the system. So therefore, it's going to be one of those, I think.
Well, I don't think that clears up anything there for Hennessy on that end. Yourself, my man, I mean, to Hennessy's point here, do you think we're going to be sort of slightly better second half than what we are in the first half? Do you think, we'd be looking for a full 90 performance today? Do you think we're capable of putting one in?
I think we are capable of putting it. Somebody said to me a stat today, we've only scored 4 goals in the first half, and we've scored 18 in the second half. That proves that this season we are a second half team. But we proved against Aston Villa we can put a 90 minutes performance in. So I just think it's a case of they've got to prove it tonight. They've got to prove it to Ange, they've got to prove it to themselves, and they've got to prove it to the fans that we can put in a full 90 minutes performance. And I demand one tonight. I demand a 90 minutes performance tonight. I don't want to see this second half performance. It's not good enough, Dave, and you know that as well as I do. It's not. But the stats there show that we're not a first half team for whatever reason. And it was like this under Mourinho. Yeah. It was like this under Nuno. This is not a one-time thing. This has been under previous managers. Yeah. And with some of the players, Dave and Jack and Jose, that are not there, why are we slipping back into this? And I agree with Hennessy. It was very lackluster on Saturday. I don't want to see it tonight. I want to see a 90 minutes performance. I hope that answered the question. Sorry, I was trying to then that, but that's my views.
Look, I
just want to correct though. Like, what date are you referring to, Dermot? Because we definitely have scored more than 4 first half goals.
I did a live show this afternoon. Somebody put it in the chat for me. I don't know, but it said we've only scored. I forget the full stat. I will go back and send it, but what I can remember of it, we've only scored 4 in the first half and 18 in the second half. But I can't remember fully what stats it is. But I will get that stat over to you, Jack. It was a really interesting stat. Sorry about that. But I will get it over to you.
Look, we'd all love a 90-minute performance tonight, but with such a tight turnaround between games, unless Ange chooses to maybe freshen it up, which we will get into further into the show, maybe positions that are up for grabs and stuff like that. Unless Ange chooses to freshen it up, it could be a very leggy game, and that could either open it up, where there's a lot of chances, or it could mean that both teams sort of are tight, not giving away much, sort of sit deep out of possession and stuff like that. It could be a very close game. It could be a scrappy game. So it'd be interesting to see what Postecoglou does with the lineup. But look, the evidence are there to suggest that we are a one-half team and that he's a second-half team at the moment. I was actually thinking about this earlier on today, Hennessy. That wasn't the case earlier on in the season. We actually started games very well in the first half, but sort of petered off in the second half, and that has changed. And it got me thinking, why has it changed? Now, for me, it comes down to either one of two things. Either we are just a one-half team at this moment in time and we don't have the intensity to keep doing this for 90 minutes, or at the start of the season, Ange was looking to catch teams maybe starting games slow. And as the season goes on, when teams do get more leggy, catch them later on in the games once you've maybe sort of worn them out and stuff like that. Is it purposely chose to be designed like this, switching up halfway during the season according to fitness and minutes and legs and stuff like that? So let me know your thoughts on that response there, Hennessy. Big yourself up, my man. And I really do appreciate the support. Now, before we crack on, I just want to bring up a few things around the game, and then also the injury news. So, of course, the game is at the London Stadium. Guys, you will be very, very far back if you are traveling to that game tonight. So make sure you do bring a good telescope or a pair of binoculars with you. I also urge caution to take, good care of your eyesight tonight. They do have a few bubble machines blowing some aimless bubbles around the place. So make sure you bring a pair of goggles to protect them eyes as well. And if you've only got your fresh haircut, make sure you bring a swim cap as well. You don't want to get frazzled. But kickoff is at 8:15 p.m. tonight. The referee is John Brooks, and in the VAR room it is Andy Madley. Now, the game is actually on telly tonight for once in the UK and Ireland. You can watch it on TNT Sports, formerly known as BT Sports. In the USA, it is on Peacock TV. In Australia, it's on Up the Sports. And in Canada tonight, it is on The Zone. So that's where you can catch the game tonight for all you guys out there. And then the injury news, of course, we are missing Ryan Ghosting Young, Fraser Forster out with his fracture, and Solomon out with his knee. And West Ham, Alvarez is suspended tonight, and Areola is not in goals tonight, which will bring in the former Arsenal goalkeeper Lucas Fabianski, who does tend to play well against us, and rise his game to us. So hopefully he can have an absolute howler tonight. That would be very beneficial towards us. But look, Jack, coming into this, 1 second, let me go to the top of my document. Coming into this game, Spurs did leave it late to sneak past relegation threat in Luton on Saturday afternoon. I mean, how are you feeling heading into this game? Are you feeling nervous because you don't really know what Tottenham team will turn up? Or are you feeling confident heading into this one because we have returned to winning ways? Because I think a lot of the fan base are probably nervous heading into this because they didn't get the performance they're expecting against Luton.
That's probably true. That could give, I think, the majority of fans maybe nerves. What actually gives me nerves in this game is maybe more to do with West Ham. I feel like have started to play a bit better recently, and I wish we could have taken advantage of that really bad patch that they were in at one stage, and I think we really would have blown them away. And so the fact that they are kind of playing a bit better of recent, I must say, though, those two injuries, or at least one of them's a suspension, the other one's an injury, I think are huge for us. I think that will benefit us, and hopefully we take advantage. That being said, though, Dave, I think like they do set up in a way that has stifled Spurs, a lot this season. Like a lot of teams that sit back, clog up the midfield, make it very difficult to get in behind, because that's what we love to do. And that's what also most Spurs fans want to see, is us kind of being able to play through the lines and, play players like Werner, Johnson, and Sonny, behind the back line. But teams like West Ham just don't really allow you to do that, don't really give you pretty much any opportunities to ever do it. So we have to kind of grind things out, kind of have to be a bit smarter in possession, have to be more creative as well, and kind of how to engineer kind of space and be able to see a run or see kind of a way to get through kind of the defense, before it's even, kind of visible to the rest of everybody else. It's kind of just very tough work. And what happens is Spurs kind of start to get into this slow groove of things, and teams start to catch us out and they hit us on the counter. And I'd say West Ham, probably one of the best teams still in the Premier League when it comes to just playing terribly and playing very boring and pretty much being dominated, yet still kind of catching you out and getting a win. I feel like I rarely see West Ham actually convincingly beat a team, but they are very good at just, kind of receiving the pressure and then just randomly hitting you out and catching you out. And yeah, just picking up 3 points or 1 point. And they did it to us last time. That's what gives me a little fear, is they could do it again.
Do you know what? I'm with you, Jack. I mean, I am a bit nervous.
It's not as much to do with Spurs, actually. It's more to do with West Ham. Sorry, Dave. Sorry.
Do you know what? I'm nervous on both ends, to be honest with you, Jack. I am nervous with Spurs. We don't really know what Tottenham is going to turn up. No one can sit here and say it for certain. When we least expect the performance is when Spurs come out and perform. When you expect the performance is when they, sort of falter to deceive so far, it seems like. But also, like you were saying with West Ham, they've done us in preseason. How many chances do we have preseason we didn't take? They went up the other end and took few chances that they created. They've done it earlier on in the season to us as well. And if you look at the teams we've actually struggled against, it is teams that play very similar to West Ham. Set every man behind the ball, look to block it up down the middle and hit us on the counter. the difference between West Ham and other teams that have maybe had a bit of joy against us doing it this season is West Ham have a lot more potent players. So, we have to be on it tonight on both sides of the game, defensively and offensively. Whoever plays in that number 6 will have to be switched on. Basuma, if he does start, cannot get caught out like he did against Wolves, like he did at the weekend there against Andros Townsend with Luton. He's going to have to be absolutely switched on. So I am nervous. West Ham are capable. David Moyes, they love set pieces and they take full advantage of them. They do score a lot. They're a big threat from them. That we also don't defend them very well. So it is a perfect sort of recipe and mix to sort of upend Tottenham's season. But I don't know why. I just have a sort of aura of calm heading into this. I just feel like Spurs are going to sort of rock up tonight. We are going to sort of ball out. I do believe there'll be a confidence. I do think it comes down to maybe Ange making 1 or 2 changes and then them being the right changes. But I just have that sense of sort of calmness heading in tonight. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's I went to sleep listening to classical music last night or not. But I do feel calm. Just a girl who loves Spurs, member for 5 months. Big up, gents. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Kate. Really appreciate the support and the longevity of it as well. Guys, make sure you get over and check out our channel. And Kate, I'll also see you on We Are Tottenham TV for the pump up on that as well. So I'll see you on that in a couple of hours. Really appreciate you being in here. And also Sonny as well. Always good to see Sonny talk Spurs. As always, great to see you. Another guy, get over and check out his channel. But Dermot, I mean, how are you feeling heading into West Ham's Cup final tonight after what me and Jack have said there?
I said to you when I came in early in the background, I'm nervous for tonight. Only 3 games make me nervous. Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham. I don't know why. I just feel a bit nervous. I feel a bit edgy. I shouldn't do because I want us to win tonight. And I think we will win tonight. But I'm just so glad when the game's over. Because West Ham have a knack of just beating us. It's either from set pieces or us making our own mistakes. And I think they beat us early in the season. We struggled there last season as well at their ground. We always struggle when we go there. And we always make mistakes. I don't know. It's a bigger game for West Ham than it is for us. But I just want the win tonight. But I'm nervous. I don't know why. I can't describe it. But I just feel really nervous for tonight.
Do you know what? Looking at the chat and, listening to Spurs fans, in the build-up to this game, I do feel like that is the general consensus that Tottenham fans are nervous because they don't know what to expect. But we already know Jose isn't nervous. He's already stated that. So a bit of a different question for you in that regard, Jose. Ange does believe the team will have gained, belief from their win over Luton, despite many disappointed with the way we played. Do you think we will see that replicated in tonight's performance? Is that maybe why you're confident heading into this game?
I'm confident, and the reason why I'm confident is because we've got Big Ange at the helm, and I'm backing him 110. And to me, I'm confident in every game that we go. I don't think I've said that I'm not confident in any game that we've played so far this season. At the end of the day, you've got to play what's in front of you. So who are we playing tonight? We're playing West Ham. West Ham we know who their 11 are. We know who their 11 are likely to be if they don't make any changes, and they can't. So we just got to go out there and put a performance on. The only thing that I'm annoyed about is West Ham will not play like a home team. And that's the only thing that annoys me. At the end of the day, I think their defence can be got at. I think midfield, they've got Ward-Prowse is off the ball, but midfield, they've got a decent midfield and they've got a decent attack. They have. There's no getting away from that. But defensively, they're not sound at all, West Ham. And I think that we've got players within our squad. It'd be interesting to see what lineup he does tonight, but I think we've got players within our squad that can make opportunities and happen, and it's just whether we can take them or not. If we can take them, we win the game tonight. I keep saying we had this ding dong on Saturday. Pace kills in my eyes. And I watched the West Ham game and I saw the 4 goals, including the penalties, and they all came from pacey attacks. It was pace beating Mavropanos and Zuma and Soufal, and I think it was Emerson. And the 4 of them looked like slouches compared to the forwards of Newcastle. And at the end of the day, we've got players of equal speed, if not quicker, and I think we can cause them problems, providing our midfield can get the ball up to the forwards, which has sometimes been a struggle. To me, I think it's It's down to us. And if we're going in with the mentality, look, we won on Saturday and we want to improve on what we've done. If we go within that mentality collectively as a team, then I can see a positive outcome for us tonight. I don't think we're going there at all. Or I won't say us fans. Let's talk about the team. I don't think the team's going there at all on a negative. I think the team's going there on a positive. And you've got all I want 22 players that we might have available. I want them all to be champing at the bit, to be in, if not that 11, to be on the bench, because people are going to have to be left out. So I just want them all to be champing at the bit, all wanting to play for the team, all wanting to play this game, but not only this game, wanting to play the 8 after this game tonight. And that's what I'm wanting to see.
So to answer the question, Jose, then Ange believes that the team will have gained belief in their win over Luton, despite many being disappointed with the performance. So do you think we'll see that in the performance tonight then?
Yes. I think he'll pick a team accordingly tonight. I think there'll be changes. And he'll pick a team accordingly tonight to go and win that game. Obviously, the scouts must have been at the game on Saturday as well to watch West Ham Newcastle and seen what happened in that game as well. And like I said, we have the luxury, for once I'm talking about, we have the luxury of being able to rotate if need be. We can rotate our players. They haven't got any rotation. With that Alvarez being out, they stuck their first 11 out on Saturday. So if they make a rotation for tonight, it weakens their side. We make rotations, we can actually strengthen our side. So to me, as I said, a win breeds confidence. And if the manager says he's confident, then who am I to disagree? I'm going to go with what the manager says. So I think we'll put in a performance tonight. We've got nothing to fear. It's not as if we've got to travel a million miles to get to that stadium. It's only across London. So therefore, we haven't got all the, we've had to travel overnight, or we've had to travel again, and we've had to do this, and you don't have to break up your routine, because you're just across, what are you, 10 miles across London? You don't have to break up your routines at all. So we go there. And remember, we go there with a W. We're playing them with an L. We've got a W. So, yeah, of course, I'm absolutely positive.
I definitely agree with you. I do think that, the fact that we have very little travel to do, that Newcastle or West Ham has traveled to Newcastle, traveled back, that could play a part. And it'd be interesting. I think David Moyes will probably stick more or less with the same team that played at the weekend, to be brutally honest. So, later on in the game, we should see, hopefully, Tottenham in the ascendancy going at them if things have gone wrong earlier on in the game. But if we can get at them earlier on in the game, we'll also score goals late in the game. So, we could easily put them to the sword tonight. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that regard. 2J, my brother, how are you keeping? So make sure you stick around for later on in the show, because I know you did send in a super chat about Kulusevski at the weekend. Well, we're going to have a great discussion on him a bit later on in the show, so make sure you stick around for that, my man. But he does say, for some reason, I feel confident for tonight. Rather start Davies over Doji, give him a rest for Sunday. Davies is a better defender. We may need it. Controversial. 2J, I think you know where I sort of stand on Davies. I'm not going to berate him heading into, a London derby. At the end of the day, he's one of my own for tonight until the game finishes, and then he's back on the sidelines. But, Adoji, for me, is just 10 times the better player. And I also look at what Adoji offers us going forward. If we do get that press on tonight, Adoji is clinical in it. When Davies has played there, you look at it, he's sort of humming and hawing whether to go or not. And that's because he knows if he misses it, he doesn't have the recovery pace to get back like someone like Adoji. However, if Van de Ven plays, you might get away with having someone like Ben Davies there. But for me, I'm sticking with the big dog. I know the last 2 games he has not looked great against Luton and against Fulham, probably a bit off. But I do think that has something to do with Dragerson being in beside him, not being as confident on his foot, on his left foot, sort of rhythm and patterns and stuff like that. Adoji would have had to change that, So with Van de Ven back in there, I do believe you'll see a much better Destiny Adoji. Hopefully, that's my theory anyway, 2J. Let me know your thoughts on that. But Jack, I mean, look, you sort of like Davies. It's okay. I'm okay with that. It is okay. So you probably see more of a point that 2J's maybe making.
When it comes to Davies, 2J, I've been well more surprised and impressed with him at center back actually this season. Like, I think he has shown flashes of a lot of people who love him, flashes of that Welsh Maldini, like people like to, sort of praise him for. And it was actually, a period where Spurs really did require and really did need big performances from players that most of us maybe don't have a lot of confidence in. And I think Emerson, as well as Ben Davies, really stepped up. Ben Davies in particular had some goal-saving tackles, goal-saving blocks, challenges as well. We know he's not even the paciest player, but he did do well to hold the high line. I think for the most part, he wasn't constantly abandoning it or, losing sight of kind of the purpose of the way we play. And I was kind of impressed by him. At left back, though, not so much this season. Like, I think he can get sort of exposed, and sort of when he gets dragged out wide. I don't think he's a terrible one-on-one defender, but it's just like when you get dragged out into those wide areas with those really quick wingers, players like Kudus, players like Bowen, I think are actually really tough task for him. Maybe if it was a different sort of player, I could see, kind of where you're coming from. But I just feel like that's where kind of West Ham's strength is also as well, like in this game, is kind of in those wingers, kind of in the transition. And I'm worried that Ben Davies would get caught out. If he's not really being asked to go far forward at all, I think I could see where you're coming from in this game, so we don't get countered, because we know that's how West Ham are going to try to score. They're going to try to score on a counter attack, and maybe having one extra guy back there could be a bit of help if 2J is thinking that way.
I also feel Davies, though, up against Jared Bowen, who I think has got 15 goals for West Ham this season. I'm not really too confident in him. I think Adoji would have a much better time up against him. But look, 2J, it is a tight turnaround between games. There will be some changes. This isn't what I had on my radar. I was thinking other players, but thank you for bringing that up in the discussion, my man. One of us will be using Kleenex at the end of the season, either me if Davey stays beyond the summer, or you if he goes. But big up 2J. Good to see you in the build, my man, as always. And I do keep an eye on your YouTube channel. You're absolutely flying. Keep it up, my man. Well done. Well done, sir. We also have Keith Edwards struggled to put Luton to the sword, who had 10 players missing. It will be even tougher tonight. Come on, you Spurs. There's no point in throwing this one at Dermo or Jack, because we already know that, they are a bit nervous. But this probably may be more directed to you, Jose, a counter to you, because you do feel very confident. So Keith Edwards is maybe reminding you that we did struggle to put in that performance against Luton, and they had 10 players missing. It's going to be even tougher tonight.
Right, Luton have changed. You've got to play what's in front of you. Right, Luton that played against us on Saturday, and Luton of late that have played, are playing a different system and a different formula to what they played earlier on in the season because of the injuries. They've had to adapt, and they've had to change the way that they play. They haven't got ball winners in midfield now. You've only got, so previously they had Ross Barkley there. Beside him, you had Lokonga or the other fella beside him. So they had ball winners there that would give the ball to Barkley. They didn't have ball winners. They had 3 potent, quick strikers. 2 of them weren't playing because they were injured. So they've had to adapt the way they've played. And Luton have done impressive. They've done really, really well to adapt the way that they're playing and to gain the points that they have done. I mean, it's still going to be squeaky bum time down there for all the clubs, because Luton are pulling results out of the bag. Luton are no mug side. And at the end of the day, you've got to play what's in front of you. We played like we typically do. We came out and we played stronger in the second half than what we did in the first half. Why and why not, I don't know. But when I watched the first half, I saw what Tottenham were trying to do. You can see the green shoots of what they're trying to do. Whether it comes off or not, it hasn't been coming off in the first half, but it comes off in the second half. So, at the end of the day, you play who's in front of you. At home, it's different to playing away. And when you're playing Luton, it ain't a London derby. The London derby's West Ham tonight. And for that, Ange won't have to be geeing the players up. The players will know how important this is to the club and how important it is to them. I can't stress enough. People need to impress Ange. People need to impress the coaching staff, because there's roles to be had for next year. Some people ain't going to make the ship next year. Some people are going to be left on dry dock, and they're going to be leaving the club. If you want to stay at this club, you need to put in performances for the remainder of the season and beyond. So for me, there's no G'ing them up. I think they're well versed on what's going to happen tonight. They know about West Ham, and they'll go out and they'll put in a performance. As you quite rightly said earlier, someone, I don't know who it was, said, you don't know what Tottenham's going to turn up, because I don't. And I say that in my predictions. I don't know what Tottenham we're going to get. But when you least expect it, they put in a bumper performance. And we saw that against Villa. So, I'm hopeful anyway. As I said, I'm positive, but I'm going to tend to look at it. If we can play as we did against Villa, and it's not as if Villa were a mug side. Villa are a good side. They'd gone unbeaten for ages at home and that, and we went and turned them over. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Tonight we play against West Ham. It's a London derby, and I think that we will be positive. Luton was a different game altogether. We were at home. At home, we're expected to go out and do what we needed to do. Yeah, we won 2-1. Could have won by more, but it was 2-1.
Well, Keith, I mean, thank you for bringing that to the party, my man. I think many fans definitely feel more like you, but no matter how much you try, you will not unnerve Jose's confidence heading into this game, which I absolutely admire, and hopefully the team has Jose's mentality heading into this game. But I do agree with you. You know, we did make hard work of them, 10 players missing. I was expecting us to walk out there 3-4-0, you know, get the job done, get the guys off early, you know, a few olays and stuff like that. It didn't quite happen like that. But we do play well against the better team. So let's wait and see how we get on tonight, Keith. But no doubt about it, you know, it's going to be a really tough test tonight. It's going to be an absolute battle from 1 minute to 90. And it's up to us to turn up and match that heat. Keith Edwards, big yourself up, my man, and really appreciate the support. Great counter question there to Jose. Now, Jack, on to you, my man. Heading into tonight's game, we sit 3 points behind Aston Villa. A win would draw us level with a game in hand as Villa do play Man City tomorrow night. Now, we didn't take this golden opportunity against Fulham when it presented itself just before the international break. How important is it that we actually, you know, grasp this opportunity tonight, take it? I know it's not going to be easy, but because we didn't do it against Fulham, which was another London derby, we have to do it tonight. How is it important we take this opportunity? Because I have a feeling we might not get this opportunity again between now and the end of the season.
It's another massive game. It's another massive opportunity. Phil Coyes is actually putting in a brilliantly timed comment there saying, don't be surprised if we replicate the Villa performance in this match. And there's something to that because Spurs, it feels like against kind of the top six or kind of maybe top half teams this season, like for the most part, I haven't really been let down as often as I feel like, you know, in previous seasons. Like in previous seasons, when we would show up, when we would come up in these big games, it would feel like, you know, there were times where we really did get kind of just taught a lesson or really just kind of outclassed really in a lot of ways. But I'd say with Ange, it's actually been a bit of the opposite, where against maybe the weaker sides, kind of the teams lower down the tables where we've really struggled a bit more, teams that you would expect that we'd roll over, that we haven't done so convincingly. But then the bigger games, more high profile games, we've been able to put in like pretty solid performances and been able to at least give us, you know, for the most part, I think consistently performances that we can be proud of, even if we don't get all 3 points. So there's something to that. Maybe that's the case here again, you know, that when kind of it's a more high profile game or when there's maybe higher quality, you know, or better quality between the two sides, maybe this team just ends up kind of playing, you know, more to, you know, their best selves. I don't know, Dave, but it's something that you could say there's a bit of a track record for that this season. Like when we've come up against better teams, we have played a bit better.
But look, you know, we have, but, you know, when the pressure's on Tottenham, when there's a chance to sort of almost do ourselves a favor, we do tend to sort of falter. So it'll be interesting to see whether Ange can really change that mentality. Last year, I remember, you know, towards the end of the season, it did peter out. We still had a chance fighting against Newcastle, Man United, with about 10, 12 games to go, and it completely petered out. So it'll be interesting whether to see the damage from last season curtails itself to this season, or whether, you know, we're able to sort of wipe that mentality clean, go out there tonight and take full advantage of it. And like Jacko said, hopefully we do turn up. We do tend to turn up on the biggest games of the season. Now, Dermot, I almost feel like this one was probably tailor-made for you. I think Ange probably had you in mind when he said this, but Postecoglou was asked in the pre-match press conference whether he feels that Man United could challenge Tottenham in the race for Champions League qualification this season. His response was, do you see us challenging Man City? They're only 8 points ahead of us. Now, does Ange believe we still have an outside chance of mounting a late title challenge? Bear in mind, we still have Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool all to play. Or is it just him trying to sort of dispel the top four culture around Spurs that he has made no secret in trying to sort of, you know, demolish and change?
Why not? Why not? We're 8 points behind. Why not? If you don't believe in something, look, we're not going to win the league. Let's be honest. But why can't we not dream? Why can we not believe? We spend too much going around top four's enough. Top four is not enough. I want to win the league. Top four is a stepping stone onto building something greater. And that's where you move from. Look, I think Liverpool's going to win the league. That's my opinion. But we're 8 points behind them. Why not? Why can't we not catch Arsenal and finish above them? We need to believe, and Ange is a great believer in believe. We've got to believe. We've got to look ahead and get out this top four nonsense. Top four is top four. It's not a cup. It's a position. You build on that position. So I think what he said in the press conference was bang on, and I agree with it. And fair play to him for saying it. Well, for too many managers have said top four. Oh yes, top four is very successful. Top four is the top thing. Top four only gets you into the Champions League. You can get in the Champions League with fifth if it all works out right. Does that give you a trophy? No. We've got to look at the top. That's where we want to be. That's where we want to end up as champions. So use it as a step aside. I agree with that. Fair play to him. Let's go. We can believe, and I believe we can build on this. So he's barking right up my tree.
Right up your tree for sure. I mean, Jack, do you think Ange sort of believes in that, or do you think it is just him constantly batting away that top four narrative, so that next season, is about talking about, challenging for trophies realistically?
I think he's just more clapping back at Man United, kind of lean on that question where he's like kind of just saying like, hey, like, show us some respect here. Like, we're 8 points clear of this team. We're actually equidistant from the best teams in the league. Don't just act like Man United are just going to come up and catch us like all of a sudden, just because maybe we haven't looked as convincing of recent. Like, we deserve to be here. We also have are undefeated against Man United this season. We haven't lost to them. So maybe it was just a bit more of a clapback kind of saying like, come on, like, look at where we are, look at where they are, show us some respect. Like, don't just think we're just going to toss away 8 points.
Interesting take on that. I love that. But look, we will keep it moving. Jose, Spurs have conceded first in 5 of our last 6 games. Why do you think we sort of are having to rely heavily on coming back in games?
Have we? I can't recall a game where I've turned around and said, "Oh, that was a great move, that was," or "Wow, that was a worldie. God, look at that, that was special." I can't remember that happening. All I can remember happening is silly mistakes, and goals have been scored from these mistakes. Now, there was a period earlier on this season that we eradicated a lot of these mistakes. But the mistakes are coming, and they're coming. I won't say the mistakes are coming definitely from all our defenders. It's coming from the team as a whole, the mistakes. And I can't remember the last time that we've gone out. It's probably Villa. Villa was the last time we kept the clean sheet, and Villa attacked us and stuff like that. But we seemed to be either mentally switched on in that game, or it was poor finishing by Villa that we got a clean sheet. Now, I like nothing better than a clean sheet. It's what I want all the time, is a clean sheet. I feel more confident tonight on a clean sheet if I've got Mickey van der Ven in my team tonight. But it's just individual errors. It's like lapses from players, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the defenders. Like I say, it's just that I don't know why they scored after 2 minutes. We were asleep. It was such a poor goal to give away. I wouldn't say, "Oh my God, you know what? They carved us open there." They didn't carve us open. Townsend's got the boys gone running down. He had time to tee up the fella inside him, and then had a time to tee up the fella who ended up scoring the goal. And our defenders were like sitting on the 6-yard box, off their strikers. They weren't with the strikers or with their players. So it's just silly mistakes that we're making. But the thing is, we're making these lapses and errors too often for my liking. I mean, it's all well and good that we go 1 down and we come win 2-1, 3-1, and whatever. It's all well and good that we're doing that, but we don't have to make it hard for ourselves doing that. We just need to go and if we can cut out the mental lapses that we're having, then we wouldn't have to go out and do what we keep having to do, and which is what we've done. But it's coming down to individual errors. But like I said, it's not necessarily the midfield, the defence. Sometimes it's the midfielders that make the errors that then lead to the goals because we're overloaded down one side or whatever. But yeah, we just need to stop the mental lapses. And I think it's some people within the team, they're playing as if they were on the beach, playing with their mates on the beach, which is not. It's the Premiership. And some people, it's mentally, lethargy. There can be a lot of things, there are a lot of factors. But yeah, I want to see us playing with and cutting out mistakes. We won't concede the goals we're conceding. It's in order to get to score past us, because Vicario has been magnificent all season as well. In order to score past us, you're going to have to create an absolute top goal out of either your movement, your play, your lead up, shot, a great shot. That's how we want you to score against us, because they're very far and few between them goals, and that's what we need, rather than giving away silly goals.
No, look, some of the goals are definitely avoidable, and they are really silly errors. But Jack, I mean, we sit here, I think we're probably, a lot of us would be in agreement, and probably a lot of people out there that are tuning in. You know, Vicario's been absolutely top-notch this season. You know, there's not too many goals you can really pinpoint on him.
No.
Romero, you know, despite his sending offs, you know, he's defending, and that has generally been okay. Same with Van der Ven, Porro, Doji. And, you know, many people are saying we've got a much better defence than what we do, than what we had in years gone by. But, you know, we're on course to maybe match the same sort of goals conceded as we did last season. So where are these mistakes coming from then, Jack? You know, do we need to maybe look at that defence and improve it again over the summer? Or is it coming from maybe us not taking full advantage in other areas up front, maybe midfield, you know, maybe slacking and not fully understanding the roles and responsibilities? What do you put it down to?
I think we do bear a lot of responsibility, but just to add something different quickly, think about this, Dave. Like, teams that are going to eventually just force themselves to sit back and play on a more defensive kind of low block type of style against us, you would almost rather in the first 15, 20 minutes, if you can, actually go toe-to-toe with Spurs, see if you can nick a goal, see if you can grab something early, because then you give yourself that insurance and that also that confidence that you can then go back to sitting back, defend a lead, defend a goal, make life even more frustrating for them. Because if you were to just maybe sit back from the get-go straight away, and then Spurs do grab that first goal, or, you know, do kind of take advantage of you kind of folding over to them straight away, then you end up, you know, probably having to chase the game later on. And when you're chasing the game against Spurs, you know, like, you're probably going to end up losing it, because that kind of is the type of style we'd rather play against. So I don't know, Dave, what do you think? I'm going to fire it back at you. Does it kind of suit teams better to actually try to grab an early goal? And I agree with Jose on the fact that we make a lot of individual mistakes, especially in midfield. Like, it does feel like our midfielders make either the wrong decision in possession or even get caught out in possession. And then we get caught in kind of a counterattack when we least expect it and when we least want it. But it's also could be that teams are wanting to get that early goal because that's the best way they see themselves winning. They don't see themselves beating us in the second half or anything like that.
No, look, I definitely agree with you. I think, you know, there is that from the opposition's point of view. I think there is that element for sure. You know, go at Tottenham, try and grab an early goal and then sit back and protect your lead. You know, because like you said, they know if they go to open up later on, it is where Spurs is strong. You look at the amount of late goals we've got from 80 minutes plus, 70 minutes plus this season. We've scored an absolute incredible amount in that sort of period. So I definitely think if you're the opposition manager, that would be your game tactic. I think you're onto something there. But then it's up to us to maybe be more aware of that, right? You know, Correct. Be switched on, be a lot more sturdy from the start. Even when if you're in possession, make sure, you know, you sort of just knock it around for a couple of minutes, stifle the opposition's game plan, you know, force them backwards. And then, you know, it's just up to us to be more switched on and more alert from the start then, because I think you're spot on. And that is something that we have to be aware of then, adapt to, you know, so that this doesn't happen, you know. I get, you know, that they're confident in their own ability and, you know, the system and stuff like that, which we're going to talk about, you know, maybe Anne Postecoglou being right, actually sticking to plan A all the time and stuff like that. But he does have to maybe get them switched on from the very beginning. I almost believe they think they're that good that they're maybe nonchalant. It's like, it doesn't matter if we concede 1 or 2 in the first, you know, sort of 10, 15 minutes. We believe we have the ability to come back. And I think that's where maybe the mindset maybe needs to switch heading into next season. You know, champions, they're on it every single game. They're well aware of what the opposition are coming here to do and they adapt to it. So maybe that is somewhere where we need to improve for sure going forward. Very good point on that one, Jacko. Dermo. Tottenham have earned 22 points from losing positions in the 23-24 season, which is 3 short of a club record in the Premier League, and second only to Liverpool in this current season, who I believe have 26. Now, many people would argue, Dermo, is this sustainable?
I don't think it is, Dave. I don't think it is. It's a shocking stat. it really is a shocking stat that we have to go behind for us to get our house into gear and win games. I think you look at the start of Luton, we were asleep at the start of that game. Fulham, we were asleep at the start of that game. And it's like we have to go behind, or a challenge has to go in and us to wake us up and say, oh, okay, we're here. We need to play better. And it's a really bad stat. It really is. It's a shocking stat. And it's a stat I hope that it needs to be improved. And I hope Ange will improve it for next season. But it all boils down to, Dave, we're asleep at start of games. We start first half or second half asleep. And then either a goal goes in or a tackle goes in or something happens that wakes us up, and it needs to change. I think it is inevitable, Dave. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound doom and gloom, but it's not. We shouldn't have to do this. We should have a stat. We've earned so many points from winning positions. That would be a great stat, not going in too many points. But saying that very quickly, it wins you titles. There's a counter to it as well. It wins you titles. It wins you competitions. So in one way, it's a bad stat. In another way, it's a good stat, if you know what I mean. It does.
Does it have to be looked at as negative, though, Dermot? Because should we actually be looking at it as a positive? You know, when we look at the teams we've had in years gone by, as soon as they conceded, their heads went, and it almost looked like they were resigned to not being on it on that day and almost losing the game. Whereas, you know, maybe that stat could represent that we actually have fight, that never say die attitude. We never stop, like Postecoglou says.
It is a good, you can look at it that way, but you have to look at it on the opposite as well. There's always an opposite to it. And if you look at it that way, we don't give up. We're not like we were in the past. I get that. And it is a good stat. But when you look at it from the opposite, it is not a great stat because we have to always come back from losing positions. And you look at Luton, the start of that game, we were still in the dressing room and we went 1-0 down. And then, we better do something. So in one way, you can look at it both ways, Dave. I see it in both ways. You can look at positives, but there is negatives to it as well.
Some splinters in your hole, Dermot, sitting on the fence there.
I'm not sitting on the fence. Look, it's a good stat. If you look, you can look at it either way. If you want to take the way it's a good stat, you're going to look at it as a good stat. If you want to look at it as a bad stat because of the way we start games and the way we go in games, you can take stuff out of that as well. So it's in either way. You can make your argument either way on it. I just think it's a stat where it shows our weaknesses, but it also shows where we've got stronger as well. So it's a stat you can argue it either way, but it does win your leagues though. Liverpool, how many times have teams won leagues when playing badly? It does win your trophies. It does win your leagues. So look at it that way. But I just don't think it's a good one to have. I think that's something we need to improve on. And I like Delvin and spoken like a true politician. I like that. I'm sorry.
Well, look, you know, we'll leave it up to the comments, guys. Let us know your thoughts on it. I mean, do you think, you know, it shows areas where we need to improve, or do you think, you know, it's a good stat? I mean, Jack, you brought up a comment there, right?
Yeah, I mean, plenty are saying. Yeah, plenty are saying it's actually a sign that Spurs do have a backbone, that Spurs can actually battle back, and it's probably better to look at it that way, because you can think of plenty of teams that do go down. You know, if they concede the first goal, they're probably going to lose the game. I could think of plenty of teams in the Premier League that are that sort of way, where they do probably struggle actually to come back in games, and Spurs have the superpower in comparison to actually be able to battle back. You can never count them out. Probably feels like most teams that even have beat us don't really feel that comfortable, really, because they know that we can almost punch back at any stage. So I'd say, yeah, Dave, despite my very negative leaning question, maybe it is a bit more kind of a benefit that Spurs actually do have this sort of backbone, do have this resilience. And I also agree with, I think, one of Matt's comments that says better than scoring first and not winning. I definitely don't miss those days. That was actually really frustrating. And it was more funny that period under Jose where everybody was really concerned when we would score first, because we just knew that we were going to end up tossing the game eventually. So, yeah, I don't miss those days.
I love this from Paul Tucknott as well. It says, funny when Liverpool do it, it's mentality monsters. When us, it's a derogatory view. I mean, it's probably because one club wins trophies, a couple every decade and one doesn't. So when it comes to us, it's always going to be a sort of negative outlook, I would suggest on that one, Paul Tucknott. But I do like that comment. Big yourself up, my man. And then we also have Moondoggy in the house. Moondoggy Dog says, good afternoon. Let's pop those bubbles. Come on, you Spurs. Don't worry. I do have my 2 picks at the ready. Just before kickoff, you see me randomly doing that. I am popping the bubbles. I bought myself a bubble blowing machine just to sort of mimic myself, maybe being in the London Stadium this evening, Moondog. So big yourself up. I absolutely pumped, and I cannot wait for this game. Not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. It ain't going to be a walk in the park. We will have to earn the right to play tonight. However, I just have a sense of calm heading into tonight's game. And I think, we could put on a good performance, and no pun intended, but hopefully blow them away, Moondog. That would be absolutely brilliant, my man. But big yourself up. Guys, there is over 360 people watching in the house. I'm judging there's 360 Spurs fans and then 9 West Ham fans. So all you beautiful people out there, Spurs fans, make sure you do smash that like button. It's a really massive help to myself and Jack in terms of that algorithm. We're constantly up against it. You think of your boys as maybe the underdogs in this situation. David versus Goliath. Again, no pun intended. But that's what we are. So make sure you do smash that like button. It's a great help. Also, if you are new, we're not too far away from 14K. Last time I looked, which was the first time in a long time, I think we're 11 away. So if anyone wants to make our day here, help us reach a milestone along with a win, that would be awesome. And also, like some of the great people before you, don't be afraid to dictate the conversation with talking points or anything that you guys want to be included in this. So that is another way you can. Or give channel memberships for our fan show tomorrow, where everyone can come on and have their say and dissect the game. And also, good to see you in Nico. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. We have hit 14K. Woo. Oh, well, look, I'll have to have a little mini celebration tonight after the game with Jacko. We'll probably have a cupcake with a candle in it, I would say. Nick Collison, that would be absolutely awesome. But look, good milestone, so feel free to congratulate us in the comments, or don't. It's up to you. But we are going to keep this moving. Where am I? I'm a bit lost now.
Just quickly, keep moving, Dave. But another last great comment, and then we'll end that discussion, I think was from Jason Bell. And he said that, conceding first is too often is definitely a negative. But the fact that we always seem to come back, doesn't really matter, makes it kind of not really matter. So I think that's a great way to look at it.
Do you know what? At this point, Jason, it actually doesn't matter in the season, just as long as we keep coming back. But next season, it will matter if we're talking maybe making up some points to get ourselves in a title race. But I do get what you're saying. Everyone, you're saying well done, Dave. You're going to make me blush. Stop it, you guys. But look, stop flirting with me. Let's keep moving. We'll go to you on this one, Jose, and we'll get everybody in on this. And I want you guys out there who's flirting with myself and Jack as well to give us your thoughts in the comments as well. That would be absolutely brilliant on this, because there has been a lot of conversations around many people wanting Ange to have a plan B, or saying he's too predictable. You can read him like the latest book and stuff like that. So, Jose, is the ability to respond to adversity a direct result of Ange's non-negotiable style of play? Instead of opting for a plan B, does it maybe vindicate Ange for sticking to his system and his beliefs instead of opting for the plan B that maybe fans wanted?
So I'm looking here, right? I've been hearing what you guys are saying, and I'm looking here, and I'm asking people with long memories, so the people that are elephants here. So people have got the long memories, right? We're 7 or 8 months into Ange, right? Remember when Klopp came and Arteta came and all these people came and they managed their clubs as well. Their football, they weren't getting the results that we're getting, And at the end of the day, the thing is, we've got fight in us. From losing positions, from winning positions, we've got the complete fight in us. Now, if you're trying to embed a system and you're trying to get in with the new and out with the old, then for 4 years we played, in my eyes, negative football. And you have to change. Some of the players that you've got were at the club then. Some have been moved on. You've got new players coming in. Everybody is going to be taught the same way to play. And if we're going to play a style of football, then you're going to have to play that style of football, not go into and play something totally different of what you're not being asked to do. Because if you do that, you're out of the team. Sometimes we can't see the wood from the trees and we're not happy with certain things that are happening on the pitch. But Postecoglou's asked for it. He wants people to play like this. And at the end of the day, I look at it, and we are where we are in the league because we've played like this. We're following instruction, and we are where we are because we're doing that. Now, at the end of the day, I, as like everyone else, I'm hoping that this season and with the pre-season that comes, that we will be doing exactly what Ange, because I've got the trust in the man, and it's exactly what Ange said. Ange said he wants to build a team that can compete. Now, if his philosophy on football and his style of play is what we're seeing, then so be it. I can only see things getting better. Now, you're saying about the good and the bad of being, coming back and stuff like that. It shows fortitude. It shows mental strength to do this. You can have, we have mental lapses, but then we've also got the mental strength to actually come back in games as well. So therefore, I think he is vindicated. Have people worked Ange out? I don't think they have, because if they have, then we wouldn't be winning all the games that we win. So, at the end of the day, if you had said to me at the start of the season, right, you're going to lose 10 games this year, I would have taken that. I would have taken that straight away, because to me, if I'd listened to all the doom and gloom merchants in the summer, then we were going to be relegation fodder. So the fact is that we're playing better football. Like it or lump it, we know that we can look forward to watching our games. We're not dreading it. We're actually looking forward to playing the games. And he's brought an excitement to the way we play football. There's a lot of people that were falling out of love with the way that we played the game, falling out of love with the club, stuff like that. He's brought in, he's united everyone. We've brought players in that want to play for the club. Everything's a positive. I can't see any negatives. The only negative is I'd like to have a few more points. I'd like to have a few more points. But wouldn't we all? We'd like to have a few more points. But it's important that we got to remember we have got 9 big, massive matches to go this season. And some of the matches that we've got left are against teams that are going to be fighting for things. Whether you're fighting for relegation, whether you're fighting for Champions League spots, whether you're fighting for the title, we've got a say in all of this. Now, who's to say if we pick up 3 points against City, who's in third place at the moment? City, yeah? Okay, we pick up 3 points against City. We're only a few points behind City. We pick up 3 points against Arsenal. You pick up 3 points against Liverpool. That picture changes completely. It completely changes. So, at the end of the day, what he's doing, continue doing it, Ange. I got trust in you. I like the football we play. I like getting up on match day knowing that we've got to play a game of football, and I look forward to it. So, no, don't change it, and I don't think he's been worked out, contrary to what other people think.
No, look, I'm in agreement with you. For me, I also believe, he has to stick to his style of play, for him to really sort of know who's in it for the long haul with him next season and who's not. There is such thing known as a manager bounce in football. So it's, he can't start chopping and changing as soon as things go wrong. He's looking at a long term into next season, and he has to know whether these players can sustain his way over a season or not. So, I think he's been right. And I think, with the amount of comebacks, despite many people maybe saying it's not working, I think Ange Postecoglou has been vindicated in sticking to his style of play. But Dermot has been a contentious talking point all season long. It came to light against, the first loss of the season, actually, against Chelsea in that game. But ever since then, anytime we drop points, it's always being questioned. He's got no plan B. He doesn't know how to affect games, everything else. But does it maybe actually vindicate him, the fact that we're called the comeback kings?
It does vindicate him. Because, look, we had the privilege, Dave, because Celtic is our second love. We had the privilege of watching 2 years of Ange at Celtic. So we know what he's like. We know what sort of manager we were getting. We knew what Ange was about. And I know for Tottenham fans that don't watch Scottish football or didn't watch him when he was manager at Celtic, I'll probably think, what's this guy about? I'm learning Ange for the first time. So when we lost to Fulham, when we lost to Chelsea, when we lost to teams, and all this Ange out, and he's got no clue, he's got no plan B, I sort of ignored it because I knew Ange is not a silly manager. Ange knows what he's doing. He's got a plan A, B, C, and D. Just because he doesn't react on the touchline or he's not like a Conte pacing up and down the touchline. doesn't mean he's working things out in his head. And then we've seen behind the games at halftime, he switched things. He's changed things tactically. So, I think it's a compliment. But I think just leave Ange alone. In Ange we trust. He will get us to the promised land. I know he will. Because I've seen what he's done. I know what he's done. He may be a rookie manager in the Premier League, but he's been a winner everywhere else he's been. And I go back even to Arsene Wenger when he came to Arsenal from the Japanese league. Who's he? Who's Arsene Wenger? What did he do? Look what he did over 20 years at Arsenal. So I
think the difference there, though, Dermo, is Wenger did bring, as much as I don't like him, he did bring something revolutionary in terms of,
but they both came from leagues that weren't that haven't got much respect. That's the point I'm making. They're both. Ange came from the Scottish League, which isn't respected an awful lot, and Arsenal came from the Japanese League, not respected a lot. But he's coming to the Premier League. He's doing it differently, and I think we just got to trust him and let him get on with it, because he does have a plan A, B, and C, and D. And that's why we're the comeback kings, because he can change things. Just because he's not running up and down the line or shouting or barking or doing that doesn't make him any less of a tactical manager than, say, Jose or Conte that were running up and down the line.
I get the point you're making about Arsene Wenger, but I think the difference with Postecoglou is he's not coming with anything revolutionary. Wenger came with the fitness and all that sort of stuff, and revolutionary stuff behind the scenes. But when it comes to Postecoglou at Celtic, I know many people may be sitting there going, well, why hasn't it happened like it did at Celtic? Well, I think there's big differences. Celtic were one of the top two teams in Scotland, despite how poor and far they were off Rangers at the time. They were still one of the top two. He had all the best players in the league to be able to work with and stuff like that. Along with his smart recruitment, which really helped Celtic. He did bring the Japanese recruitment to Celtic, bring them in and stuff like that. It really helped them, and he was able to implement it a lot quicker. But when he came to Tottenham, we weren't even inside the top six. We were one of the, I think, 8th or 9th from the season before. It's that long ago now, I can't even remember. I've tried to banish it. But, so he's had a lot bigger job to do. So it was always going to take that little bit longer to do. But if he's already made half of this step and we finish in top 4 this season, it is a great platform to be able to build off heading into next season. It can only get better from there. So I maybe think that's maybe the difference between Celtic and Tottenham. But also, Jack's highlighted this a lot. In the Premier League, you're coming up against some of the best forwards in the world. So they're a lot more clinical than maybe what they are in Scotland as well. But where are you on that, Jacko? We haven't had your thoughts on it yet. Has Ange been vindicated, or do you still think maybe he needs to adapt or tweak certain parts of the system?
I think Ange has been vindicated, and we've touched on this before, Dave, so I don't need to repeat it too much. But that's the point I've made, is that I think he's been a victim of his own success in the beginning of the season, where everybody was rooting kind of for his downfall. Any of the Ange doubters, anybody that said that his style of play was not going to be sustainable or was going to get caught out. I mean, he blew away everybody and kind of spanked them in the first 10 games of the season. And so they kind of had to go away and sort of wait for an opportunity again, or wait for an opportunity, right, to be able to criticize him or be able to question him. And I think they have found it in kind of more recent periods. But that's why I think is sort of, I feel bad for him. I think he sort of shattered the original expectations and sort of shattered the original kind of goals and objectives that a lot of Spurs fans even set out for him, and even neutral fans probably set out for us, kind of with Spurs this season. And then they've set new ones, and I think he's still meeting them. But he's just a guy that's, I think, kind of weirdly been sort of held up to a different standard to what the original standard was kind of this season.
No,
and
absolutely.
So, Dave, I think he's been vindicated just because he's probably going to give us Champions League. He's probably going to give us Europa League. And that's, well above you and I's season of predictions, and also well above the vibe of even most people around Spurs. Like, everybody thought it was going to be sort of a ground up, building from 30 feet of nothing, kind of, team and season. And I think we've done very well with ourselves, and Ange deserves a pat on the back. And that's probably even why, going back to your other good question, maybe why even clap back at the whole Man United thing. Because look at Ten Hag, look at Pochettino, look at all these other managers that have struggled this season. It seems like, yeah, he's done pretty well in comparison to them, and he's adapted to the Premier League. You could even say better than they have.
And look, I think you're absolutely spot on. To be honest with you, despite it being a sort of frustrating season up and down at times, I was expecting it to be a more tumultuous season than this. So, it has sort of exceeded my expectations. But Jose thrown in one of his member chats here for 6 months, which I really appreciate. It's a fantastic achievement on the 14K. Big up, lads. Come on, you Spurs. Look, it's been a grind and stuff like that. Look, I never ever thought we'd even get past 5K, to be brutally honest. Sitting here on 14K really means a lot. But you know what really would mean more to me? Let's get to 15K. So if you guys could make that happen, I'm sure you have a goldfish that you're planning on buying, or a pet cat or something that you can maybe make an account for and subscribe and stuff like that. So, let's get the boys on the march to 15K. But honestly, it wouldn't be possible without all you great guys out there spreading the word, constantly tuning in to what we have to say. I'm still amazed that people sort of want to hear what me and Jack have to say and stuff like that, but you do. So, it would not be possible without you guys. So really do appreciate every single one of you out there, whether you've just tuned in, smashed to do the little thing, smashed the like, or even made the guest appearance. It wouldn't be possible without any of you. So thank you very much on that regard. But look, there's enough time for sentiment later on when the game's finished and we've got 3 points and Dave belts out I'm loving Big Ange instead. So we'll keep that back till a bit later on, and we'll keep the emotions in check for a little while. And big up Chris as well, just renewing his membership. Really appreciate it, brother,
Chris.
and hopefully
Absolute
you're
legend.
keeping well, and hopefully we get you on the fan show tomorrow night for
Day one.
a bit of a discussion. Big up, Chris. He has been here a long time, so really do appreciate that. But guys, I did have some other sort of questions and that I wanted to get into. However, because time is getting away from me, I want to get into a lot of questions maybe about some of the positions up for grabs tonight and stuff like that. And I appreciate that everyone, may like a certain player and doesn't like a certain player. So let's not fall out over it and stuff like that. But please do share your opinions, because I do think it's all valuable at the end of the day. So we'll start with this one. Now, West Ham have always been a good set-piece team. Have Spurs shown any improvement in defending them this season? But also what I want to ask off the back of that, should we maybe look at starting Dragusin tonight to counter West Ham's threat from set pieces? And start with you on this one, Jack, and work our way around the panel. I'm just going to open a window. I'm boiling in here.
No worries, Dave.
Getting to me. The heat of the derby's already getting to me.
To raise the temperature. But I could see the logic of wanting to throw in like an Emerson or a Dragusin because of that set piece threat. Dave and I, when we watched a game together, noticed that West Ham fans actually celebrate set pieces more than they even do celebrate their own goals, it feels like, because that's how excited they feel like, from, feeling like there's a chance that they will, make something happen. They usually, aren't as impressed by what they do in open play. They're more impressed by sort of the various ways that they can hurt teams from those set pieces. This season, I think they've been sort of as effective as they usually are. I'm kind of happy they don't have that guy Dawson anymore, because he used to really annoy me. But Kurt Zuma has always been quite annoying. I think in the air, he can definitely rise up there. And they just seem to have always just 1,000 different sort of tall, like tree players that they can just keep in the box and causes problems. I feel like I'd rather just stick with Porro and Udogie, because they are going to be mostly defending throughout this game, West Ham, I think. And I'd rather overwhelm them with that bit of quality on the ball that you're going to get with Udogie, with Porro, because they're going to have a better chance of, creating chances, breaking down that West Ham defense than what Dragusin or Emerson or Ben Davies, kind of players would. But I do see the logic, because what we know is West Ham, there's 2 ways they're going to try to score, either through a counterattack or through a set piece. Having, maybe a more defensive minded player, there's nothing wrong with that, because they would probably lessen the chances of West Ham doing that. I just want to help us, kind of break down that team. So I'm going to stick with Porro and Udogie.
No, look, I do understand the shouts. I mean, is there anyone in the chat there that maybe would suggest putting Dragusin in tonight? Put it in and give us your reasons why. Is there anyone else on the panel that disagrees with Jack on this occasion?
No, I agree with everything Jack said. So, yeah.
Right. Well, we'll move on, Derma. I'll come to you about Mr. Van de Ven then. So I'm going to give you some stats on Spurs with and without Van de Ven in the Premier League this season. So Van de Ven in the team this season, he's played 18 games. Tottenham have won 12 times. And he's missed 11 games, and Spurs have only won 5 times. So it's quite simple. When Van de Ven plays, Tottenham are far better equipped to win. Why is he then so important to this Spurs team? What is it about him that he brings that he's pivotal?
I think one is pace. I think his understanding with Romero and the back four as a whole, and Vicario as a back five as a whole. And I think he's understanding of the game plan that Ange wants to play. And lastly, his sort of leadership skills he has back there. He's got great leadership skills of organising, and he's great at organising like corners. And when we have made a mistake, he's not pointing fingers. He says, right, let's organise better for the next time. So I think we miss Van de Ven because of all of them, Dave, to be fair. And I think he's vital. It's a bit like when Harry Kane didn't play, Spurs didn't play well. And it seems to be the same thing with Van de Ven. But I think he's been the best defender in the Premier League this season by far.
Well, Tyler also says here he's come back on the Dragosin. He says if Dragosin was playing, then 100%. I think it would be the right decision to play him, but he hasn't. So def not. Look, I think he's done all right, but he's way too nervous on that left hand side, going onto his left foot. And if we continue to look to play him there, he will become a trigger press for the opposition, a trigger point to go and press. So for me, if he does play, he either has to play instead of Romero and compete with Romero on that right hand side. But what I would say, when he does have that, one thing that surprised me was some of the times he did go on the run against Luton, he did look a bit like Mickey Van de Ven in that sort of regard. Strong, powerful lad, striding with the ball, out wide and stuff like that. But with Romero being the leader, I think he's got a big job on his hands to maybe displace him there. But look, guys, I mean, anything else to add on Van de Ven that maybe Dermot didn't cover? No worries. Well, I think you're on mute, Jacko.
Sorry, I was just going to quickly add, Van de Ven were without Romero. I'm not saying that, we would be losing a ton of games or anything, but I think we'd also still see Spurs struggle because it's still a partnership at the end of the day. And that game that we still to this day reference, the Fulham, Cup exit, Van de Ven played alongside Sanchez and started that game alongside Sanchez. We didn't play Romero, and we did not play well that day.
No, 100%. I agree with that. For me, look, I think the partnership, I think that's one thing that many people overlook nowadays, is the actual partnership, being able to read each other's game and stuff like that. And when you heard the quotes between that Van de Ven sort of said at the start of the season, where it was almost like that comedy Step Brothers, it was absolutely brilliant. He said, Romero makes me more aggressive and, I make Romero more calm. It's absolutely unbelievable. It already shows there that there is that level of understanding between each other and stuff like that. And for me, that bodes me a lot of confidence going forward. If they could strike up something similar and as solid as Toby and Jan had for years, that would benefit us very, very well. Going forward, that would be an absolute huge asset. But I really like Mickey Van de Ven. His recovery pace is absolutely crucial to everything we do. He snuffs out a lot of chances and can maybe get blocks on things that other players maybe don't have the pace to get back and do. So it's a huge asset in that regard. You're absolutely spot on, Dermo. Jose, we'll come to you. Bentancur looked very good off the bench on Saturday. Do you start him in our midfield tonight, and for who? And I suppose I'll let you bring in Lascelles, so I'll throw him on this as well. This will please Tyler out there. You and him can have a big love hug together about Lascelles. But some would argue Lascelles. Look, I'll give in. He done all right. He had a bit of an impact on the game when he came on, right? So would you look at starting either of them in the midfield tonight?
Dave, we had this on Saturday. I know your point of view, and I agree with what you say. And I've said as well, I believe that Lo Celso won't be part of the furniture next year. However, we've got 9 games to go. We need everyone, all hands to the pump. And for me, for the team that we played at the weekend, I said that I wanted to see Lo Celso, Bentancur, and Maddison in the midfield. I wanted to see Van de Ven at the back, and I wanted to see Johnson up front. I feel vindicated that 3 of them players came on in the second half and played well and changed the game. Right? Now, the question is, can they do it from the start? Now, to me, I think the best, and I'll say what I said Saturday, the best football I've seen our midfield play was the first half an hour against Villa when Lolo and Monito were both playing together, and they made it look so simple. It was so simple. The one-touch passing, technical players moving the ball quickly in that. Now, I see Werner again on Saturday. I saw Werner creating space for himself. Werner, and we just couldn't get the ball to him. The players that we had on the pitch could not get the ball to Werner. Werner was in positions. these two players, along with Maddison in your midfield, they will provide the technical ability to get the ball further up the pitch, far better than the players that we had start the game on Saturday. Going back to your Van der Ven situation, I feel that the whole defence and the whole team have trust in Vicario. When you look at the defenders and you've got Van der Ven and Romero there, Adoji knows he's being covered by Van der Ven. Porro knows he's being covered by Romero. Romero knows he's being covered by Van der Ven as well. It then leads to the midfield having confidence and trust in their defenders. And you can see that the confidence and trust goes right through that team when Van der Ven's there. But for me, I would play with technical ability, players that can move the ball quick. I'd start with them three tonight. I wanted them to start on Saturday, and they didn't. I want them to start tonight. Them three players. I think Basuma's fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
So to explain it, Basuma for me is fallen off a cliff, and Sarr's not a bad player, but I think that since he's come back from the AFCON, there's been reports that they're managing a back injury for him at the moment, and so therefore he's not looked. He's not done badly. Don't get me wrong, but he's not looked the wonder kid that he looked like before getting to the AFCON. But I've got nothing against him. He's played well. Sarr's a good player, but I just think that in the second half, if you want to bring Sarr on and that, you've got legs from Sarr to come on in the second half if you need it. But then again, they're the three that I start. I mean, I campaigned for him on Saturday. I'm going to campaign for him again today. But
do you know what?
But he won't be part of the team next year. I know that. Right.
Do you know what? For me, look, I think Basuma's position today is maybe in doubt. I think, look, don't get me wrong. I think he was much more involved in the second half. But like I said before, I feel like he's a player you have to constantly be sitting on top of, pushing him rather than him wanting to be at his best every single day. So you might see a swap there. For me, I think Bentancur came off the bench. He played very well. He looked like getting back to his best. And the guy hasn't started in over a month. So you put him out there tonight, I envision he'll probably have the bit between his teeth to go out there and reclaim his place maybe. I disagree with you on Sarr. I think going into away games, Sarr is a player you cannot do without. He does the work for everybody else in there. He's our most combative midfielder. He turns over more ball than anybody else. And with West Ham tonight, they're going to block up that middle. It is going to be an absolute battle in there. And for me, you cannot do without Papamata Sarr in there. I think it would be a huge mistake if he doesn't start tonight. And I think it makes our job harder. When it comes to Lo Celso, everyone knows my thoughts on it. I think it sets a bad precedent, of years gone by where players come here and sort of turn up when they want and perform when they want. I ain't going to sit here and laud them off the pitch, for a 5-minute cameo over 5 years of being here. For me, I want to see a lot more. I take your point. Do we need him between now and the end of the season? Personally, I'd rather give Donnelly them minutes. I think they'd be more beneficial for someone like him if we're talking about a long-term process over short-term results and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's my decision. With Maddison, I mean, look, he's really pissing me off. He hasn't turned up creatively, and I don't know how long. I do like the guy. I think there's a player in there, but is he a guy that, gets on the ball and wants to dictate games every single opportunity he gets? He doesn't. How many times, he's a wonderful sort of actor in a way, because he pops back to the centre-back and goes, look at me, I'm getting involved in the game. I want the ball. But then he passes it back and jogs off. Van der Ven scratching his head there sometimes going, hang on, James. I'm the defender. You're paid to be the creator, the guy to take the ball off me and play it forward. What are you doing here? He's hiding from me. So for me, I do think he'll start today. But games like Luton at the weekend, games like tonight is exactly why we signed that locksmith, James Maddison. That lock picker is to unlock tight defenses when they sit everyone behind the ball. If he doesn't deliver tonight, I would be looking at making a change very early on in the game after 50, 55 minutes. I'm not having this injury as an excuse anymore. Nowhere near taking that as an excuse. He's been back long enough. But look, that's my thoughts on it. I mean, Jack, you go, and then we'll also get Dermo in here.
I see no reason to drop Papamata Sarr. By far the most consistent player of this season. I don't even think I just don't even think his levels have even dropped even that much. Actually, I disagree with Jose on that one. Even recently, some people have been pointing out on Twitter through kind of different, of course, compilations and things like that. They actually felt like he had a very good game against Luton, despite maybe a lackluster performance really from some other players. So I'd keep Sarr, especially in this sort of game where it's already going to be far more combative, far more physical as well. You are going to really need him. And he has that kind of pace as well as that kind of power to maybe surge past, some of those West Ham players like Souček, and others that might be a little slower and, kind of struggle to deal with that sort of athleticism that he does have. So I'd stick with Sarr. Maddison, I'm kind of with you, Dave, just really underwhelmed of recent. He doesn't really kind of do what most number 10s, you would expect them to do. And he's just been very frustrating of recent. We know he is, capable of playing much better. We have seen it. I'm not really just giving up on him or anything like that. But if we are just talking about of recent performances, Maddison, I feel like you could make the argument shouldn't be just all automatically in the first team. Maybe you could think of a Kulusevski through the middle, or you could think of a Gio Lo Celso. I know I'm kind of with you, right? He's not going to.
No, Jack, I'm going to fall off my chair for you.
Not going to really be that much of a player, for the long term. But times in the past when we've needed, a different number 10, Gio Lo Celso has been missing and has been hurt, and it's been really frustrating. So I'd like to see maybe someone different if I were to think about changing the midfield there. But for me, I'd stick with Basuma, go with Sarr again, and then if I were to think of a change, perhaps Maddison, to be dropped, just because I don't know, like the way he's been playing recently, he doesn't deserve, I think, to be in the first team every single game the way he's been playing.
Well, interesting. So me and Jack are sort of alike there. Dermo, you're bringing the Stasso into the midfield. No, money mess. What is your midfield? What is your midfield options tonight? Just quickly, there was one comment. Bob Down Under. He says apparently illness in the West Ham camp could be a late change. Maybe Lasagna Gate 2.0 in reverse. That would be absolutely lovely. So we can find out
what they gave me.
If we can find out who the head chef is, he deserves a few points at the next Spurs game. But Dermo, that midfield tonight, I mean, it's a lot of controversy. It's one that people are maybe unhappy with. There's one that since the Luton game, there's been a lot of links to central midfielders and, a lot of rumors about what ones are leaving and stuff like that. I mean, who do you think's best for the job tonight?
Look, I went with Bentancur, Sarr, and Maddison, but listen to all your discussions, and I actually changed my mind during all of this. I would put Kulu instead of Maddison tonight and go with Bentancur, Sarr, and Kulu. I wouldn't drop Sarr. Sarr's the glue that glues that midfield. He is our workhorse. I wouldn't drop it. I'd bring Bentancur in to drop Basuma, who I think's been off the pace, and I put Kulu in there. Let's see what Kulu can do in that middle, and drop Maddison and then bring him on. Look, I love Maddison. He's a great player, but for whatever reason, he hasn't been at it since he's come back with injury. So I think we need to just drop him tonight, put Kulu in there, and see how it goes. But my middle three would be Bentancur, Sarr, and Kulu.
Interesting. But guys, please, there's over 400, nearly 490 of you watching right now. So please put in your midfield trio today. And alongside that, smash that thumbs up button. I promise it does not bite back. It doesn't want a game of thumb war or anything like that. It just wants you to smash it. So that'd be absolutely brilliant. But look, let's get in and talk a little bit about James Maddison, guys, a bit deeper on the conversation. This is a great question from Jack. James Maddison has more goal contributions, which is 11, while also playing fewer games than Lucas Paqueta of West Ham tonight, who many people laud. Odegaard, the cheap cleaning product, who many people laud. Bruno Fernandes, who turned down Tottenham, and Morgan Gibbs-White, believe it or not, at Nottingham Forest. Despite those numbers, do you think Maddison has been underperforming? And we'll go to you on this one, Jack. Oh,
gosh, I'm very unprofessional. Keep catching myself on mute than the last ones. It's a funny question, Dave, because as much as I've been critical of Maddison, I've been more underwhelmed. Like when I looked at those stats, I was kind of like, well, am I holding him to a different standard or a higher standard than maybe most people do? Or is there kind of a, kind of maybe too much Spurs bias kind of going into it, from me, where I've kind of, not thinking about other players and kind of the Premier League and how they're performing in comparison. Yeah, I could probably eat some humble pie in that regard. I'd just say that Maddison, though, just the way that the responsibilities in this midfield for that number 10 position, I think a lot of players would kill for. Like, you basically get to receive the ball in central areas with so many players making runs off of you. You also as well get to kind of usually be able to be that kind of central guy to dictate the tempo, make kind of the difficult passes, try to make, kind of the amazing happen really in sort of a just inventing chances and just inventing kind of a play. And I just think Maddison has a very, I think a role that a lot of number 10s would be very jealous of. And sometimes I think he plays a bit sort of passive, or plays a bit kind of not as aggressive, or doesn't take as many risks as I wish he would sometimes in possession. Whereas at the times, I'd say Sonny actually takes more risks even in possession than Maddison does. Sometimes you see Sonny go
more risks. Vicario takes more risks.
You see like a Sonny go for, even when he kind of is, let's say, not even on his best perform, still will try that pass in behind, or still will try to fire it into somebody to then make a run off of him. And that just, I don't know, maybe I'm biased, or maybe I'm just holding Maddison to a different standard, but I just don't see it happen from him as often. And guys like even a Morgan Gibbs-White, like Big Boss Man say, I think he's, an interesting player to compare him to. I feel like when I watch him, he really takes control of the game, and he really, grabs hold of it for Forest and will make something happen out of nothing. And I just don't know if Madison's doing that for me of recent. He's not making something happen out of nothing as much as a lot of other number 10s do. But once again, Dave, a little stat to add to that is the fact that all of those goals and assists as well, no penalties, right? And guys like Odegaard, right, penalty taker. I think a few other guys in that list are penalty takers too. So the fact that Maddison has also gotten all those without penalties is impressive.
Let me ask you, if you put Lucas Paqueta in this Tottenham team, or Morgan Gibbs-White, because I agree with you, when I look at him, every time he gets the ball, he wants to affect games going forward. He has almost that demon in him. He wants to drive forward and go and hunt for goals. Would they have more goals and assists in this Tottenham team than James Maddison? Because I've said this before, James Maddison has one of the easiest roles in this team. He's free just to go and create.
That's what's tough for me. It's like I'm debating between stats and like my seeing eye, right? And I think you, of course, people like to say that, first go with their eye, then maybe look at the stats later. And that's what I've kind of done here. Like, in my eye has told me that Maddison has not been playing as well of recent. I think he could be playing a lot better. I look at other number 10s around the Premier League who I do think are playing a lot better than him. But then when I looked at the stats, I'm kind of like, well, like, is he playing as bad as I think? It's a tough one for me, Dave. I don't really even have an answer for it. I think there would be number 10s that would be playing better than him right now. That being said, like, it's stats versus my seeing eye. It's hard to say.
It's a hard one. I reckon if you put Paqueta or Gibbs-White in this team, maybe they probably would have maybe better numbers than James Maddison in this regard. But Jose, when you look at Maddison, he's coming up against the likes of Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Bellingham probably going to that midfield, Rice. When you look at a lot of these players, the numbers, the positions up for grabs are sort of dwindling. Do you see Maddison getting ahead of maybe some of these guys in the England squad off this form? Because where I'm going with this is he really needs to pick it up and start producing for Tottenham if he wants to make this Euro squad.
Yeah, I think I touched upon it on Saturday, and I said that to me, he's in danger. He went to the Euros. Or was it the World Cup? Whatever it was last year, he went to it and he got injured, didn't he? He didn't play at all, right? And now his form has fallen off a cliff, and other players, even some of the new players that have been given a chance and got a runabout as well in the last international break, they've actually had really good runabouts and caught the eye of the manager. And whereby I thought that Maddison would have been a shoo-in for that role, or for one of them berths there. You're quite right. If you look at on the eye, like Jack says, if you look at some of the other players you just mentioned there, Dave, you've got to say at this present moment in time, unless things change for the next 9 games, they're definitely all in front of him. And therefore, if you can only take 23 players, I don't think Maddison might have got good credit, might be a good lad to have around the squad and everything like that. But if you're not playing, well, mind you, in saying that, Southgate's a bit of a weird one, isn't he? Because he plays bloody Henderson and Maguire still when they're not playing for their clubs and they're playing out in Z League, and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, it's quite a weird one. But for me personally, I would have thought that other people are well ahead of him. Well, could be ahead of him now, and that whatever he earned and had in the bank, that's been dwindling. He needs to improve for Tottenham first of all. Over the next 9 games in order to catch the eye of that manager to try and make sure he's in the squad for the Euros. But like I said, first and foremost, we pay salary. He needs to do it for us. Yeah. And I would rather him just do it for us, match in, match out, and forget about trying to make a squad for the Euros. You should be wanting to be the best that you can be at the club that you pay for, that pay your wages.
Mm. Well, look, he's going to have a magnificent run over these next 9 games to really sort of catch the eye. So it's up to James Maddison. Now no one else can do it for him. He did walk off. He did look very unhappy being brought off. So hopefully he channels that in the right way today and, steps up and produces. I sort of have my doubts, though, with it being a physical game. I have noticed when teams get physical on Maddison, he starts limping around, and it's almost like Ange takes him off because he doesn't want that fight. He doesn't want that battle. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds up tonight. But there's 2 more comments I want to take off. This one here from Mark New, and then there's one from Lloyd Yido saying that Maddison is not the problem. I've seen some other people say that, so we'll ask a question off the back of that. But Dermo, Mark New maybe makes a good point here. Is Matters holding back because he's frightened of injury before the Euros in June and doesn't want to maybe miss another competition?
That could be a reason, Dave. I think personally, I don't think he's been at his best since he came back from his latest injury, and I think it has scarred him a little bit, to be fair. There is a good player there. Maddison on his game would turn any game around. We've seen it. He's done it with us before he got injured. He came... when we beat Leicester 6-2, was it last season? For their second goal, that incredible ball with the outside of the foot when Leicester got their second goal. I mean, he has the talent. We know he's got the talent. I think I agree with Mark New. It's all to do with injuries. And he does pick up ankle injuries quite often. So I know somebody else said it in the chat that we need to protect him more. Maybe that's true as well. Maybe the rest of the midfield have to give him a little bit of protection, so it gives them a bit of space.
How can they protect them, though? I don't get that. How can they protect
It's giving him a bit more space and freedom to do what he does best. So, do you know what I mean? Any great player, your midfield, if you've got a genius in the midfield, like going back to Maradona or players like that, the rest of the midfield will protect him a little bit, take up the slack. So we give him a bit more space for him to do what he's good at, which is creating. He hasn't been creating because he's always playing deep, because he has to come searching for the ball. We haven't been quick enough getting the ball from back to forward. That's why he keeps coming back. So, look,
I disagree with that.
Well, yeah, friend, that's how I'm seeing it. I
think there is an element that he drops back to get the ball, but how many times on the edge of the opposition half have we seen him move the ball onwards 5 yards when that's prime position for James Maddison? Pop one, play one in down the sides, play one in over the top. He chooses not to.
Yeah, but always there isn't the option there to do it. So his only option is to go back. So it's all about creating. It's all about creating space for himself, and other players creating space for themselves to give them the option to get it forward quickly and get an attack going. So I think it's a lot of different things, but I think we will see the best of Maddison for the end of the season, if not start next season. But look, there is a talent there. He was a good buy. He will come good for us. We just got to be patient, like with a lot of other things this season.
And then also Lloyd Yates says, I love Maddison. He is not the problem. And, that's another question off the back of one that Jack put in there. Is Maddison the problem, or is the problem we are over-reliant on Maddison, which was supposed to not be the case, and the idea behind maybe selling Harry Kane in the summer that, he sort of held other players back and other players would come to the fore and step up this season. So are we over-reliant on Maddison? Look, I think to a degree, but let's not forget he signed on the contract knowing that would be the case. He was brought in here to be that attacking player, So for me, I'm not sure we are over-reliant on Maddison.
I think we've gotten it done without him. Sorry, sorry, Dave. My dad interrupted you. No, I think we have gotten it done without Maddison this season. I personally just don't know if he's carried his weight as much as I think he could. Basically, I think he could be playing a lot better, and I think he could be more of a guy that just sort of grabs us a goal, grabs us an assist, creates something out of nothing, and then we're kind of just feeling like, yep, that's the reason he's number 10. That's the reason he's the big dog, kind of in that midfield with the fancy haircut and the tattoos. Like I sort of joked to you, there's the reason you're wearing that number 10 for a reason. Has he shown that to me as much recently? I don't think so, but we have been able to get it done with other players. Johnson in the recent game came on and did all the creativity that was needed in order for us to come back and win that game. We've seen players like Sarr step up in games in order to help us get over the line in midfield. And it's not, what's thankful is that we're not completely dependent on him, but could he be carrying, a bit more weight? Personally, I think so. Sorry, man. I interrupted.
No, look, I completely agree with you. That's where I'm at. I think he could be pulling his weight a lot more. You know, for whatever slack Richarlison gets when Son wasn't around, he's the one that stepped up. You look how often Sonny has stepped up this season. I think he scored 5 winning goals so far this season and stuff like that. And I just think Maddison, I think you're right, Jack, needs to pull his weight a bit more compared to maybe what other players are, to be brutally honest. I'm absolutely with you on that. But guys, we are going to move on to right wing and then, you know, sort of work our way across that forward line. But as soon as referee Gerard Gillett put the whistle to his lips and blew for half-time, Postecoglou turned to Brennan Johnson, pointed at him and told him to get ready to come on for the second half. Dejan Kulusevski, and he cited this for taking him off, desire to keep running in off the right flank, was bunching up the play in the centre of the pitch, and it was preventing the very form of attack that Postecoglou gets his coaches, Chris Davies and Ryan Mason, to drill into his players day after day after day on the training pitch. So it sort of got me to question, I beg the question before we get on to Brennan Johnson. Is Kulusevski the fault, or is it down to maybe Postecoglou potentially maybe mismanaging Kulusevski? Because if he wants his wingers to get down on the byline and put the ball across, why not move him over to the left-hand side where it makes it a lot easier for him to do that? Who wants to take up on that one?
I think with Kulu, I sort of agree what you said. Maybe Ange could be not using him right, but it's also down to Kulu to say to the manager, look, this is how I want to play. And Kulu's are very frustrating because when he gets down that wing, he just cuts in, and it's so frustrating. It is so frustrating. You know that, Dave, you've done in your watch alongs, I've done on mine. It is so frustrating. So I think it's a bit of both. I don't think you can put the blame on one or blame on the other, but I do feel Kulu needs to listen to Ange how he wants him to play and try to take that on board and try to change his game a little bit. It's not always down to the manager. Maybe it should be down to the player as well to work on his game and try something different. But I think it's a bit of both.
I mean, Jose, where are you at with it? You know, strong words for maybe Postecoglou, maybe saying that Kulusevski is going against the tactics. But, you know, Postecoglou also knows he's a left-footed player. You know, he's very sort of one-footed. I mean, who's at fault here, Kulusevski or Ange Postecoglou?
Well, what I will say is for you and Dermot, at least, you've watched a lot more of Ange Celtic than what we probably all have. From what I saw of Celtic, I can always recall that you had the little fella that was like a jack in the box who plays centre forward, who scored 20.
Urahashi,
and he scored loads of goals. And the other two boys that played front three with him, they would play on their natural feet, and they would get the ball to the byline, and they would cross it in low. They weren't putting them up in the air because the guy's like 2 foot tall, but they play them along the deck. So I saw a lot more of that from Celtic. Unless I was watching something different, I saw the wide forwards getting past the defenders and crossing in the ball low into the box. So it's weird to me to see that we're playing inverted wingers as well. Before Werner came along, who were we playing on the left that had a right foot? Johnson played out on the left, didn't he? When he first started.
Sonny's played on the left for years. He's right.
But when Johnson came against Arsenal, he put Johnson on the left, didn't he? And Johnson's right-footed, and put Kulu on the right, and Kulu's left-footed. So, to me, I can't say I'm not going to blame Kulu here. I'm going to say that he's following instruction, and Ange wants him to play in that position. Ange selects the team, so therefore it should be on Ange. It shouldn't be on the player, because to me, it's quite clear. We can all see this. Kulu is 95% left foot. He's one of these players that I'm going to say that I always say steal a living playing with 1 foot. Because if you're going to pay players loads of money, you should be 2-footed. But so to me, it's got to be Ange. Ange is picking a side, and Ange puts him in that position to play. So, you know, I mean, unless we're going to get upgrades and bring different players in the summer window that can actually play them positions, then he's got to play with what he's got. But I'm sure that we have naturally right-footed players and naturally left-footed players that could play in them positions. Obviously, for one reason or another, and I'm not Ange Postecoglou, and I'm not going to say I'm tactically as astute as him either, he chooses the team, And if he wants to set the team up like that, there must be method behind his madness. And all I can say is we've won more often than what we've drawn or lost. So therefore, whatever he's doing, he's getting most of it right.
When it comes to Kulusevski, I mean, look, it's a tough one because I do think he offers so much defensively to that right-hand side. With Porro being asked to get inside, he does get back, work hard defensively. He's also a very good ball carrier as well. But look, it's a bit of give and take. For me, I think Dejan Kulusevski's, 22, 23 now? I think he's at 23. That point. If he wants to maybe make the next level, he probably needs to stay back in training and, or on the training pitch and maybe develop his right foot a lot more if he really wants to take that maybe next step, that next level to become an elite winger, because there is a lot of good stuff that he does. He does create a lot of chances in general over the course of this season. The problem is, it's in spurts and then he goes missing for a few and stuff like that. But I also think if Ange wants his wingers to hit the byline, why wouldn't you play Decky on the left-hand side then? Because he's so strong. He's very hard to move off the ball. He'll beat his man on the inside, hugging that byline 9 times out of 10, going on the outside and down across the byline and pulling it back for others. So for me, I think it's a bit of give and take. But I also think Ange Postecoglou plays Kulu on the right-hand side because of the defensive work that he does offer compared to maybe what other wingers do. So it's a bit of a harsh one. However, he has been frustrated with Kulusevski, and he did take him off. Many people said Ange, he doesn't change games and stuff like that. When he certainly changed the game with that decision. I mean, Jack, before we move on to Brendan Johnson, we'll find out where you're at with Kulusevski.
I'll just kind of quickly add that he could be one of those players that is technically on a superior level to most players in the team, but does struggle to sort of nail down a defined position of what he is best at. A lot of people say that about Havertz, of course, at Arsenal. What is his best position? Yet every manager just continues to pick him and continues to put him in the starting 11 in various areas. Kulusevski could kind of be one of those guys where he does so many little things right that very few players can say they do on such a consistent level that he does. His work rate off of the ball, his ability to retain possession, like you say as well, the fact that he doesn't get bullied, can't shove him off the ball. In fact, if you do try to do that, he'll take advantage of you and he'll probably take it right past you and create a chance himself from there. So you almost want to kind of step off of him and give him that sort of space, because if you do try to meet him physically, he usually will outbattle you there. And I think Kulusevski is just maybe kind of getting a bit figured out. Also, as well, kind of just taking the easy way where he does want to cut inside and isn't challenging himself enough to try to take it down the byline on that right side. There is an advantage to having, an inverted winger in the sense that when he does cut inside, he's going to be more dangerous. Like, he will be able to go and have a shot on goal. He can shoot either direction to the keeper. It's very difficult, once they get that space inside. It's just he doesn't take it down the byline enough to convince his defender, where he's going. It's just very predictable at times with Kulusevski, and I think he, deserves criticism for that. But I think there is an advantage sometimes to having a left-footed winger, on the right. There is that advantage if they do take it down the byline and they show that they can go both directions, because then they are a handful.
For me, I think it'd help Kulusevski massively if you got Porro on the overlap, dragging players away with him, rather than leaving Kulu, sort of 2-on-1 every time he gets the ball out there. I think that would sort of help him massively. But Jack, he has alluded to, Kulusevski himself said that he is best playing centrally, and it is somewhere where maybe he sees himself in the future. So does that open up maybe him coming on for James Maddison today if Johnson does start ahead of him, in that creative role? It'd be very interesting, left footer down the left side. So it'd be interesting. Maybe we might be looking at a position change for Kulu next season if we buy another couple of wingers over the course of the summer. So it'd be very interesting to see what maybe Ange Postecoglou does with Kulu. But those who are maybe saying get rid of Kulu, it ain't happening. We only sold him in the summer. Same like, when people say get rid of Brendan Johnson, which I've never said, by the way, even though I'm not his biggest fan, I've never said get rid of him because he ain't going anywhere because we only bought him in the summer. So it'd be interesting to see maybe what way Postecoglou maybe repurposes Kulusevski in that regard. But I would like to see him come on down the middle today if James Maddison ain't performing. I also mentioned it maybe earlier on in the season. I wouldn't mind seeing him through the middle as a striker at some point either. I think he's got great attributes that's very similar to Harry Kane, the way he shields the ball, holds people off, strong, powerful, stuff like that. I think there is a lot there, the way he carries the ball and stuff, where, you know, if you gave him a long enough run, you know, down the middle, could he be that sort of guy? But look, that's a conversation for another day. Dermot, we'll start with you on this one because I know you are his number one fan. You went very early on this. Brennan Johnson has more goal contributions off the bench than any other player in the Premier League this season. No doubt he has been excellent as an impact sub this season. But why hasn't he been good when starting games?
That's $1 million question. I think
he's number one fan. You should know.
Yeah. I just don't know. Even I can't answer that. Off the bench, he is absolutely sensational. But you start him like against Fulham, and he plays like he's never kicked a ball in his life. So he's really frustrating. Look, give him time. He will come good for a full 90 minutes. I think at the moment we need to play him. He hasn't got the stamina for a full 90-minute game anyway. So if you are going to play him for an hour and then switch it up with somebody. But I tell you one thing, Dave, that lad's got talent to bear. He's got talent to spare. He is so, and I love him. I love the way he gets down the wing, head down, up the wing, you know, gets the crosses in. And even Sonny said to him Saturday, before the game, when you come on, I want you to change the game. He came on, he changed the game. He's shutting these doubters up. And I'll help him because
I don't know if he is though, Dermot. It's a bit controversial to say that because the doubters are saying, is he good enough to start games and do it week in, week out? Judging by his stats, you know, you could argue that maybe they are right because he hasn't done it when he started yet.
Well, tonight he's got to prove him wrong. Tonight he's starting to. If he does start tonight's the chance to prove them wrong and shut them doubters up. Look, I will back him up.
Do you start him? Do you start him tonight?
I would. We're better with pace down the wings than we were when he came on against Luton. We had the pace with Werner one side, Johnson the other. Luton couldn't handle us. We were more of an attacking threat than we were in the first half. I would start Johnson tonight, no problem whatsoever. And he will prove people wrong. He will do it, and I guarantee you, he will prove people wrong.
Well, look, hopefully if he does start tonight, I think he will. Personally, I'd start him. I would reward him, you know, with a start, and hopefully he does deliver tonight. Guys, do you think Brennan Johnson will start tonight as well? Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, I think you have to reward him. Kulusevski hasn't played well enough just to walk into the team. I made a similar argument that was kind of controversial about Maddison, right? Like, does he really deserve to just walk into this team right now? I'd say no. Kulusevski is definitely a similar case, if not a more convincing case of that. And so Johnson absolutely should be rewarded.
Potato Stew hasn't been out. It comes out an hour before kickoff, my man. So kickoff's 8:15 tonight. Lineups will be out at 7:15, brother. Jose, you in agreement as well with the rest of the panel that Johnson deserves to start tonight or should start after his cameo? And also, why do you think maybe he fails to replicate it when he is, you know, selected to start?
I don't know, it's a difficult one because I agree with what Jack said about rewarding him for Saturday and for some of the other games he's come on off the bench and changed it. So, yeah, it would be good to reward him and for him to start. But I did say very early on in this stream that for me, the only issue that I've got is his stamina is suspect. And I explained what happened in the international breaks and that, and his stamina suspect. He needs a pre-season, obviously, and hopefully to pick up and build up the stamina. But what do people say? The only way to build up your stamina is by getting game time, rather than being on the training pitch. In real match game time is when you pick up your stamina. So I'm hoping he's picking up more and more as he goes along. It's a difficult one because I want speed kills, and I watched what happened to West Ham against Newcastle, and they got in through their fullbacks, behind their fullbacks all the time, and the centre halves couldn't keep up with their pace either. So for me, speed kills, and I'd like to see Johnson start with Werner and Son, but now he names Postecoglou. Possibly he may start with Kulu rather than Johnson, although I would prefer Johnson to start.
Is that solely because of Ange knows about the impact sub and he'd rather just know that he could rely on that? Or is he just that is he that faithful in Kulu, do you think?
Yeah, I think well, I've never ever seen him, Jack. I've never ever seen him hook a player at half time. hooking Kulu off at half time, I was like, what? Now, I know they weren't playing well and whatever, but he got hooked at half time. He didn't get given 15 minutes in the second half. It was half time and he was off. First time I've seen him do that to a player, hook him at half time like that. So therefore, I don't know. I mean, Kulu's played every game. Whether they reached their red level zones and whatever, I don't know. I don't know that part of it. But yeah, you were talking earlier, you guys, and you were saying what Kulu offers the team, and he does offer a lot to the team. But he just doesn't, on the eye, look like that appealing player that you want to have as a wide third forward, who will attack people. But Johnson is that. Now you got to take the rub with the green here. Either we start with Johnson and know that he's going to last 60 minutes, or you're going to start with somebody else and bring him on for the last 30. To be honest, I would prefer to start him. I want speed to start the game. I'd prefer him and Werner to play up front.
Yeah, I think you probably benefit from either one of them being an impact sub because they offer something so different to each other. So whatever it ends up being, whoever comes on for each other will offer a very different sort of impact. Going on to Werner, though, Mr. Dermatron. Werner has contributed 2 goals and 2 assists in 9 Premier League games. And naturally, as the season is drawing to a close, there's intense speculation over his future. And Ange had this to say about him. He's been great for us. He was an important signing, and it's fair to say he's made an impact in every game. Yeah, he's probably like a couple more goals, but at the same time, he's an important part of our structure. And I thought he was really good on the weekend. What have you made of his contribution so far, Dermot? And do you think we should make it permanent, the Werner deal?
To answer your second question first, yes, without a hesitation, I would make it permanent without any hesitation whatsoever. I think he's been played, he's been good. I saw him live at Brighton when we played Brighton. I was really impressed with him. I really was. The way he just got down that wing and he just tried and ran and ran and ran and ran. He's been unlucky with a few of the chances he's had to score. He should have put more away, to be fair. But that's just luck, I think, at the end of the day. But yeah, Jack, I would sign him up tomorrow. I love him in there. I love a bit of Werner on the dance floor. For me, he's a great signing for us, and he's a great addition to the squad because he came in late and he picked up what Andrew was doing very quickly. And I think he's got a point to prove in the Premier League as well, that he is a Premier League player where he didn't do well. I think it was at Chelsea. He didn't have the greatest of times there, and I think he's got a point to prove. But I'd snap him up completely. I think it's a no-brainer.
Turbo Timo for Dermot. Dave, do you feel like I was going to make this point to kind of twist the question with Timo? Like, I think he hasn't exactly embarrassed himself really, right? He has contributed, and he has maybe some doubters sort of made them take back certain things with what they thought he would have contributed. That being said, though, to say he's contributed, yeah, fair play. Does that warrant, being a permanent deal, though? Maybe that's 2 different things, right? Like you pat him on the back for helping us out and not completely falling on his face. Doesn't mean, though, he deserves a permanent move.
Look, I feel like we make this similar sort of excuses for Werner like we did for Lucas Moura. Get him on, he brings pace. I mean, sign a marathon runner, he'll run all day. Sign an Olympic sprinter, he'll be just as quick as Werner running. My problem is the end product. When you play him, you don't quite know what you're going to get. Even sometimes in games when he does start, first half he's been crap, second half he's been electric. For me, when we're signing players, I want to see a lot more sort of consistency. Werner doesn't solve a problem in our front line in terms of being clinical, and that's our biggest problem this season. We don't have enough clinical players. Outside Son and Richarlison, Johnson, Kulu, Werner, people like that, you just don't know what you're going to get when you play them. What we need to add to this team, especially up front, is people that are more clinical. Werner is a menace down that side. He causes a lot of problems. But, I mean, you could hire me to do that. You'd be brutally honest. You could pay me half his wages to do that every single week. The problem is the end product. That Luton game could have been completely different if he took that opportunity in the first half. If Richarlison missed that, people would have went absolutely ballistic and would have screamed to take the guy off. The chat would have broke. Everyone would have been in there on Richarlison's case when it comes to that point. Everyone argues about Richarlison not being clinical enough, but Werner is less clinical than what what Richarlison is. I'd argue if you had Son in a lot of Furness positions, you'd see a lot more better stats off that left-hand side. So for me, he's come in, he's done a job. You know, I know it's a cheap fee. You know, for me, I'd like his wages to maybe be halved if we're taking him on here. And look, if the plan is to sell off the likes of Gill and stuff like that and bring him in as a squad player next season, and you are going to add more clinical wingers to the squad over the summer, okay, I'll be okay with it in that regard. But if he's going to be the guy we're signing in the summer to come in here and turn our fortunes around up front, personally, I don't see it. And I know some people may say, Dave, you're being harsh and everything else like that. But the biggest problem with that front line is the lack of creativity and, you know, the lack of clinicalness in front of goals. And Richarlison, for me, Werner does not solve either of them problems. So I'm against the deal personally until he does a lot more to change my mind.
Okay. Turbo Timo will still have to wait a little bit to win Dave over. It looks like he's going to have to contribute a little bit more. Let's move quickly, though, into Richarlison. Dave, since you have done most of the hosting duties, let's ask you again here, since you've been so kind to always ask us first. How do you feel about Richarlison tonight? Ange Postecoglou on if Richarlison is now at the stage in his recovery from injury where he's back in contention to start games. Ange said this. He said, yeah, he's much better after the game and felt a lot better. He trained yesterday and he'll train this afternoon. He feels good now. Should Richarlison start today against West Ham, Dave? And who would you drop to the bench then?
Look, I have a couple of reasons why I would start Richarlison tonight. First of all, Son's best attribute is not playing with his back to goal. If he plays through the middle tonight, he's going to spend large parts of the game tonight playing with his back to goal, purely because West Ham are going to sit that defensive line right on front of the box with the midfield also blocking up that. So you're going to struggle to get Son into the game. When you go back and look up the winning goal that Son scored against Luton, he started it off on the left-hand side, just outside our box, drove the ball all the way to the halfway line down there, played it off to Werner, and then followed the play up. So my point of view, what I'm basically trying to say is Son got his goal from driving at players and following the play up, running towards goals. So for me tonight, where we're going to get the best out of Son in this against a team that plays low block is getting him on the ball out wide, and in a position where he's running at players rather than playing with his back to goal. It's going to be very physical in there. The first goal against Luton Town came from Son not being able to hold up the ball. He was bullied off it. So for me, it doesn't make sense to play him down the middle tonight. I think what you do is you put Richarlison down the middle, let him take all that contact and free Son up and put him in space where he can actually make that difference tonight. I think he'll get lost down the middle tonight. And there is an argument to say, you go back and look at us against a lot of low block teams, he has been lost in there. So for me, I would play Richarlison in that aspect. Also, I think coming into the final 9 games of the season, whether people like Richarlison or not, it's very important to get your 2 top goal scorers into the team, no matter what way you do it. For me, you could put Son down the middle, put Richarlison on the left, but I don't think that's the best front line available to us. I think Son is more suited to the left-hand side for us. So for me, I would bring Richarlison in on them basis, that I think Son would be best served to affect the game from out left. And we didn't have these conversations when Kane and Son were battling it out, 2 top scorers, main sources of goals, all play one over the other. We didn't have them conversations, so I don't get where we're going to have them on the final 9 games of the season. It's that simple. Get your 2 top goal scorers into the team this for the final 9 games. That's where I'm at with it. I know a lot of people disagree and controversial, I know, but I have no personal agenda towards Son or playing him straight down the middle. I want what's best for Tottenham Hotspur.
I'd personally rather just have our best player on the ball as much as possible. And then I'd also like to get our second best scorer into the team somehow. That's what makes most sense to me, getting the second best goal scorer into this side. I think Sonny would absolutely tear Vladimir Coufal a new one. And I think he'd probably be able to, kind of cause more problems on that left side than he really would, being surrounded by all the center backs and midfielders that West Ham would clog up in the middle. Not saying that Sonny wouldn't, still score or still benefit us, playing down the middle. I just think you get more out of him. You get more juice from the squeeze of Sonny if you do play him on that left wing. And then Richarlison can occupy that very, tough area and that very congested space. And we can try to help him, kind of get some scrappy goals like he has done pretty well for us so far this season. I think Sonny also is just a much better creator than anybody else in this team, actually, on the wings. I know plenty of people think he's our best striker. I think he's also our best winger in this team as well. So just take your pick. I think for this game, suits him better to play him as the winger because he is also our best winger.
No, look, I'm in complete agreement with that. I mean, Jose, where are you at with it?
I said I want to pick pace. I want to go with pace.
But what is pace going to do against a team that sit right on the edge of the box? I don't understand.
Well, I don't understand playing Richarlison against all them centre halves. I watched Man City the other day against Arsenal.
If you were listening, Richarlison's much better playing with his back to goals, which is what a striker does 9 times out of 10, rather than Son.
I watched the other day. I watched Haaland, and Haaland's levels above Richarlison. And I watched Haaland play the other day, and they played the same kind of system. They sat back, and Haaland didn't get sniffed, didn't get looking. And the end of the day, and I don't think they passed the Haaland until the last 5 minutes of the game. So for me, if the game was more open, I'd play Richarlison. I'd put Richarlison in there. But for me, I think you need to get past them, and you need to take shots. So you get past them by going down the wings. You take shots, and Richarlison's not a person that strikes me as a striking the ball from outside the box. I prefer to play the other three. He's coming back from injury. I prefer to play the other three, like I said, with the pace to try and get behind them. And if that doesn't work, then we have got players that we can bring off the bench, which we are in a fortunate position now to actually say that. But I do agree with the bit about you want to add goals to your team, and the 2 top goal scorers should fit into your team. At the end of the day, Ange's going to pick who he sees fit that's going to win us this game. And it may well be, again, he's got decisions to make, hasn't he? Because at the weekend, Richarlison didn't play. So, yeah, he's got decisions to make on who he wants to put in. We've discussed this already. Midfield, up front, he's got decisions to make. And also at the back in the defence, he's got a decision to make between Dragusin and Van der Ven. So, but the thing is, we can change up our team. Exactly what I said. We can change up our team. I don't think West Ham change up their team. It devalues them. It makes them lower achievers. If they change, we can change up our team and still be stronger than them.
No, look, 100%. Look, I completely disagree, but look, I'm not, people are entitled to their opinion on who's better suited down the middle. I mean, Dermo, where are you with it, my man? I mean, let's complete this front line. Do you think it should be Werner left, Son through the middle, or Richarlison through the middle and Son off the left-hand side?
This can be controversial, but I would play Werner, Richarlison and Johnson, and then bring Sonny on in the second half. I agree with you. I'm sorry, Jose. I don't agree in what you said about Haaland and Richarlison. I agree with Dave in a way that Richarlison, when we played low big sides, you need a striker that's going to be there to take the hits, going to be there to back into, is going to do the hard yards. And I think Richarlison does give you that little bit of he will work hard up front for you. I agree you should be able to play both top scorers in the team, but how do you fit Sonny in? Do you play him in the number 10 then behind Richarlison? What do you do? Because I do agree keeping Werner and Johnson on the wings for pace is important. But I would drop Sonny onto the bench and bring in and put Richarlison up front and start with that 3 and then bring Sonny on in the second half if we need to. Look,
people, don't abuse Darwin in the comments.
I don't give a but I'm sure you say that I don't give a shit what people say about me in the comments. It's my opinion, and everyone that is entitled to their opinion. It's how I see things. So if people want to disagree with me, I don't give a shit. Let them get on with it. I'm big enough and ugly enough and old enough just to ignore them. But that's how I would do. But you do want to play your top 2 goal scorers, but how do you fit Sonny in? How do you fit them in? Do you play him in the 10 with Richie up front? I just feel you need pace down the wings. That's just my opinion. But look, how do you do it? Ange's got a big decision to make.
He does have a big decision to make. It'd be interesting to see what he does. He did say in his press conference about Richarlison being fit and available to be selected from the start. What I would also add is I do think Richarlison has a point to prove, especially when it comes to Mikel Antonio, right? Let's not forget that guy mocked his finishing, questioned his professionalism along with Callum Wilson. And I know some people are going to say, Dave, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't matter to these guys. Well, go and look at Vicario, what he had to say to Callum Wilson after the Newcastle game and tell me it does not matter, because it clearly does. So for me, I think he'd have a massive point to prove tonight. look,
point.
whether he starts or not, look, it could be a case that Son starts down the middle, Richarlison comes on some way through. For me, I would suggest, though, I do think we need to get the game over early. I'm not sure Son will last 90 minutes tonight, off the back of playing, against Luton, and the amount of football that the guys played this summer when everyone else was on Premier League break. He was over playing for career and stuff like that. So, he's got a lot of legs in his minutes tonight and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see what Ange Postecoglou does. Me personally, if I was manager, which I'm not, which I should be assistant, I would be suggesting to play Richie through the middle for this game. But Martin Knightsbridge says, Dave, you forgot to drop the mic after that speech. Look, I did.
The mic is fragile, Martin. The mic is fragile. He'd be doing it too often. He'd be dropping it on the floor too much.
Look, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's just the way I see it tonight. I think needs must tonight. People on about, Werner's pace down the left-hand side. People forget how quick Son can be over a short burst or over a short distance. But it's also the consistency of the end product coming in from that side. And you put Son into the face that Werner gets himself in, someone deliver 9 times out of 10. I'd also suggest, and I'm not just having a dig at Son here, but there's a big difference between being a natural striker and a guy that can fill in on the, through the middle. Son has done that absolutely brilliantly. But there were a good few crosses that went into that box where if you had a natural number 9, he's sitting on the shoulders of the defender waiting to get his foot and pounce on that. There's a couple of times there was a few balls flashed across. Sonny wasn't there. He pulled back on these runs if you go and watch some of the build-up plays. For me, I think if you had Richarlison there, he probably would have got a couple of goals, if he had them crosses flashing across and stuff like that. So, look, interesting discussion around that forward line today. It'd be very interesting to see what Ange Postecoglou does. I suppose the good thing is, though, guys, is at least we can have these debates now. In years gone by, we haven't been able to have them. It's just like, play them. Don't even speak to me about the rest because they're absolutely useless. And I don't know whether we're having debates now because they're all as bad as each other or they're actually giving each other a bit of competition. It's a hard one to work out. But big up, Martin. Really appreciate the support, my man. Really do. Guys, I think we're going to wrap it up there. I do have to head on over to our Tottenham TV. But, guys, there is 470 of you guys in the house. So, please make sure we all see you back here in force, in numbers, for the watch-along starting at 7:45 this evening. We all know West Ham hate me, and they all know I hate them. So we need our army out in force tonight. So please get behind your boys for the watch-along tonight, and we'll see you then. But before we will end off, I want to give the guys a quick chance to plug themselves. You guys were brilliant to Jose the other day, smashing up that subscribe count. So let's do the same for Dermo today. Dermo, why do people need to get over to THFC till I die? You've got one line.
Controversial.
No, tell them why they need to get over, my man.
No, look, I'm only 8 away from 1,700. 1,800. I'm 9 away from 1,800. So I'd love to get there before the watch along tonight. Yeah, if you want to go over to me and Mr. Brady, where we have debates, we have the Daily Hotspur news show every day at 4. Watch along tonight. We're doing one ourselves. Post-match, pre-match, I'm covering the Irish girls next week against England next Tuesday. So I'm going to cover that. And we're doing the Man City Villa game tomorrow night as well. And we're doing the Chelsea Man United on Thursday. So watch-alongs of Premier League. Want to get over, hit the like button, hit the subscription. We're on our way to 2K. I would love to get there, being ambitious in the mind to get to 2K. So I would love to get there. But please get me to 1,800. That were really nice to kick me off nicely for tonight. So thanks guys and congrats on 14K.
Thank you, John.
You were the two lads that got me into this mess, into this turbulent world of YouTube in the first place. So I blame you two. But congratulations, and I would love to get the 14K like you guys do. So please.
Well, no, look, I appreciate your time, my man. You've helped us along our journey as well. People, make sure you say thank you to Dermot giving up his time for this great show today. I presume you've enjoyed it. I think numbers don't lie anyway. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. So make sure you thank Dermot for the time. Just quickly, the Outlaw coming in here late, controversially. So people, please let me know in the comments below. He says we need physicality in midfield tonight. Højbjerg has to start, lads. So, guys, let me know in the comments. We don't have time to get into it now, but let me know in the comments what you think of what the Outlaw has to say. He's come a long way, I would say. He wasn't initially Højbjerg's greatest fan, but he's starting to come round, on his closing days of the season, to see Højbjerg's benefit. And he also says he's not the first player to be hauled off. I think this is to do with either Madison or Kulusevski. I'm sure Andrews had a word with him at the end of the day. Oh, he's on about Kulu. We need Kulu's aggression tonight against the Hammers. Another fair point. You can see what the old lad wants. He wants pure physicality in there. I think he's going off the assumption, which I sort of agree with. You'll have to earn the right to play tonight. You'll have to win the physical battle to earn yourself space and time to play. But everybody, please do get over, check out the great Dermotron. Dermot, you can put on your light now. We call you the Prophetron, make you happy. But get over there, check him out at THFC till I die. And Jose, last but not least, my man, where can people find you, brother?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. It's a pleasure to be on the screen with you three guys and all the lovely people in the chat. You've got a great community over here. I keep imploring people, become members, because these guys offer so much to their members. So please become members of the channel. Sub first and then become a member. I can be found at Hotel Cockerel. I'm also doing a watch along tonight. I've put my feet into the water in the last few weeks. I'm doing one tonight. Tomorrow I've got a view from Asia at 11 in the morning with Ash P and Chang. And then on Thursday, I've got a mop-up show. And on Friday, I'll have the ladies' takeover where I let Queen Ellie and Ash have the floor. So, yeah, if you want to come along, give me a view, Hotel Cockerel.
Guys, make sure you thank Jose for his time as well this evening. Really appreciate it. I think it's been a good show, guys. People seem to enjoy it out there. We are absolutely pumped, ready to go. We are less than 2 hours away from kickoff, or about 2 hours away from kickoff. Like I said, 7:45. Make sure you're here. Get the army out in force behind your two boys, and let's go and get them 3 points. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
We trust. We never stop. Let's fucking go.
See you later.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.